board meeting. And it's a very special board meeting. We're very excited to be here tonight and to have all of you here tonight. Before we move forward, I want to make this our call to order to the meeting, and I'd like to go ahead and have us do the Pledge of Allegiance. After that, we'll turn it over to our board recognition. So if we could all rise. That way. The flag is this way. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. You may be seated. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Superintendent Dr. Williams for our board recognitions.
All right, good evening, everyone. This is a celebration. Good evening, everyone. All right. Now I know I'm in the right place. So I'm going to begin by just talking a little bit about a really special person. And I've known him for quite some time, and I've always been really impressed with him. And it's the principal of this great school, of the Lewis J. Bennett High School. Principal Carlos Alvarez is a person, you want to give him a hand? I know he's tough, but he cares deeply about all of the students and the staff in this school. And I think, you know, with all that's been accomplished over here at the Lewis J. Bennett School, it doesn't happen unless you have a leader who demonstrates competence, who has high expectations, and I know that because I think I came over here the first day of school, and he was moving students along, and he was, you know, talking to students about what his expectations were and what he knew that all of his students were capable of achieving. He's always, as I have known him, just been a leader who is inclusive, who brings students together, who brings faculty together, and who just does an outstanding job as a principal. I saw him down on the field in the rain. It was cold, it was raining. We were at Highmark Stadium, and our scholar athletes were playing, and he was right there beside them. So I want to bring up Principal Alvarez. We're in his building. This is, you know, the Lewis J. Bennett School. It's a phenomenal school. It's a beautiful school. You do a magnificent job. And I would love to bring you up to just share a little bit about your school.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. I appreciate your kind words. So, a little bit about our school. We have about 440 students that are currently enrolled. Last year, we had a 91% graduation rate. So, as a non-criteria school, getting students that are interested in enrolling in this school to have a 91% graduation rate is phenomenal. Not only that, but there are 3 subgroups that are always a little bit challenging statewide. We have our Hispanic students, our Black students, and our students with disabilities. And the graduation rates for those 3 subgroups are the following. 92% of our Black students graduate, 91% of our Hispanic students graduate, and 92% of our students with disabilities graduate. So the one thing that I always tell our student athletes are, you are scholar athletes. Scholastics come first. If you're not performing well in the classroom, you will not perform on the field, on the court, regardless of where it is. The scholastic piece comes first. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. With that being said, we've implemented a week-by-week progress report monitoring system in which the students must either show progress or be passing your classes each and every week. So without the support of our staff, our teachers, our coaches, we wouldn't be able to make that happen. So let's give our staff a big round of applause. I tell all our football players here is you may have the talent to play on Saturdays or play on Sundays, but talent without education is just wasted talent. So we must stay focused on our education. With that being said, the first marking period ended about three weeks ago, but just looking at some of these guys, I can tell you Tone had over an 80 average, Darrell is on the honor roll, Rashard had over an 80 average. Kamari, stand up for me, please. Kamari's on the high honor roll. Kareem is on the honor roll. Jaden has over a high, 80 average. Jason has almost a 90 average. Xavier has almost a 90 average. Mr. Covington here is about 85. Damari, stand up. He's our freshman here. Damari had over a 90 average. Good job. So some people think I'm a little crazy with my numbers, but the bottom line is I know my kids. Jameer, I'm sorry I missed Jameer, but I know how they're performing, and I'm really, really proud of them. In addition, today I'm really proud because we had two of our scholar athletes sign their letters of intent to play Division I football. So I'm going to ask Jaden to stand up and Rashard to stand up, please. Congratulations to the two of you. Rashard will be going to Syracuse University, and Jaden will be going to the University at Buffalo. Congratulations. So what was really great about today and what will continue to be great as we move forward is our student athletes no longer even have to worry about the NCAA clearinghouse. Because we're monitoring them and ensuring that the kids are staying academically focused, we're not worried about having to deal with the NCAA saying that they're not eligible. Those conversations are for the past. So I'm sharing this because our football team went through some very challenging and stressful times this year, but they persevered. They won the Class AA New York State Championship. Not only are they champions on the field, they are champions in the classroom every day, every single day. I'm very, very proud of all the work that you put in. You are well-rounded young men who will either go to the world of work, you will go to the military, you will go on to college, but you'll do great. You know I'm hard on you. You know that I'm not going to let up, but bottom line is I love you guys. Go Tigers.
Thank you, Principal Alvarez. Go Tigers. Go Tigers. All right. He means what he says. He really does. He's a principal who walks the walk and he talks the talk. And as you were speaking, Board Member Cotman looked over and she said, see, he knows his kids. He knew the, averages of the students, the names, and it's for real. He wasn't reading that. He knew how his students were doing academically, and I think that just, again, expresses what your expectations are for them. So thank you. Thank you for the work that you do. And now it's my pleasure to bring up our Assistant Superintendent of Athletics. I must say that we also have a Chief of Athletics, Dr. Reynolds. She had an emergency and was unable to be here tonight, but we certainly have our Assistant Superintendent of Athletics, Mr. Michael House. And Mr. House, you do a fantastic job. Your work is complex. You work with so many schools and coaches, and You know, everybody is diverse and they all have different needs, and then you got to work with me. And, you know, you're trying to bring me up to speed on all the football and baseball and modify. I'm learning though, right? Right, okay. So I want to bring Assistant Superintendent Mr. House up so that he can then proceed with some of the team recognitions and introduce our coaches. And he will be followed by our board member, Sharon Belton-Cotman, who will be introducing a very special guest.
Thank you, Dr. Williams and board. Good evening, everybody. I appreciate this opportunity to be here with you tonight. We have a special team and a special group of young men. And we are honored to be here tonight to present you with the highest honor in high school sports. You all achieved the Section 6 Class AA State Championship, the Far West Regional AA Championship, and then, of course, the big one, the one we're going to order the rings for, all right, the New York State Class AA State Championship, which is the highest honor in high school sports. For my presentation, I'm going to be very brief. I'm going to talk about our coaches, and then I'll turn it over to Coach McDuffie, and then, of course, Sharon Cotman. Coach McDuffie, our Class AA Coach of the Year. Coach, you go above and beyond, and it starts with your leadership. All right? Everything you do from mentoring, driving, feeding, nurturing, taking care of our young men, we appreciate you. You go above and beyond to lead this program to make sure that academic piece, the athletic piece, the mental, emotional, whatever it takes for the well-being of our young men, you do it. And we thank you. Developer, Coach McDuffie and his team, they go above and beyond to fully develop young men, physically, mentally, with their character, and at the end of the day, sending them out for college and career readiness. A funny story, so Principal Alvarez called me in early September. He said, Mike, you didn't tell me. Why didn't you tell me? What? You didn't tell me. So we implemented a strength and conditioning program 2 years ago. Well, this summer, Principal Alvarez called me and said, holy cow, you didn't tell me the boys put on 15, 20 pounds of muscle. Coach McDuffie was in that weight room every day, and he did a great job to really help prepare. But you are the best developer here in the city. And then your love for kids. You love our kids. You know when it's time to put your arm around them, pick them up, teach them how to be humble, how to lose with grace, how to get through adversity. This team over the past 4 school years has been through more adversity than I've ever seen in my whole educational experience. And young men, you did a great job handling that adversity. To our assistant coaches, I'll put this coaching staff up against anybody in the state, definitely in Section 6. We got a great coaching staff here. There's a saying, too, that quality people make quality programs. And this coaching staff is really special. And it trickles to the kids. Assistant coaches, if you could, stand up, or Coach McDuffie, you'll stand up first. Coach O'Connor, Coach Scott, Coach Foster, Coach Wheeler, Coach Young, Coach Cotman, Coach Todd, Coach Badger, Coach Blackford, Coach Faison, Coach AJ, Coach Andy, Coach Truesdale, Coach Clemens. These assistant coaches go on and on tirelessly. Mr. Barnes, if you're getting a bill for the lighting out in the back there, these coaches don't go home. When that daylight savings clicks on, so do those lights. And we're probably running up the electric bill a little bit over here, but these coaches are out here working with these young men until 6:30, 7 o'clock at night in the dark. Your father figures. All you assistant coaches are great father figures. You do what it takes to take care of our kids. You're such mentors. You deserve to be commended, and then you're loyal. You guys are loyal to our head coach, to the educational process, to this school here, to our community. You're very loyal, so we commend you all. But thank you, and gentlemen, if you could clap it up, I'm going to turn it over to Coach McDuffie.
First, I just want to say, thank you to everybody, because once again, I understand that nobody achieves greatness by themselves. So I want to thank my coaching staff once again, who I believe is the best coaching staff not only in New York State, but probably anywhere in the country, period. Then I want to send a special shout out to all other people who supported me along the way, because this is still not the climax, because like everybody need to understand, this is a program. This won't be the only state championship that come to Bennett High School. So first, I want to thank Mr. Alvarez. You've been a pillar of support, and like I said, you're in the trenches, and I can come to you for anything, and you're a great supporter. You support me, you support the kids. Along with Mr. Alvarez, I gotta thank Ms. Cotter, I gotta thank Mr. Barton. We have some great administrators, and I also have to thank the faculty and the staff here at Bennett High School. We have some great teachers, and they're into these kids' business, and you know what? No stone is unturned with these kids when they need help academically, and they always have somebody to talk to, and I believe that's real important. Next, I would like to say thank you to Ms. Williams, who's our superintendent, and I have something special here for you. This is for you, okay? Just a piece of us where you can always hang it in your office. Every kid has signed it, and you know what? This gives you bragging rights. So, thank you for all of the support you have given us, and that's from us, and that's from the team. You know what, Mr. Guzman, thank you too, because you've always been a person who was on my side. I appreciate you. I really want you to know that. Thank you. Now I have to turn. I'm gonna save Mike House for last, but I have to turn and say, Mr. Hurd, thank you. Thank you for all of your support throughout the years. You've been here for us. You've been here for the kids. We really, really appreciate you here at Bennett High School. And then, I have to thank one of my favorite people in the world, because I know that Bennett High School wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. Our kids love her. She's like a second mother to our kids. Right, Ms. Cotman, y'all love Ms. Cotman. Y'all can get up and clap for her. It's okay now, okay? Because y'all know y'all love her, okay? And she's like a second mother to these kids. And you know what? In her perspective, she always tells them, hey, we don't play checkers, we play chess, right? And you gotta learn, okay, how to be a thinker. And you know what? Thank you throughout the years, throughout this journey, for being a pillar of support for us. Really, really appreciate you. And then, along with Mr. Mike House, Mike, I gotta get you to stand up because you want me to tell you what? You talk about all I do for the kids. I gotta talk about all you do for not only Bennett, but for every other athletic program here in the city. And, you know, like you say, sometimes I'm calling in, sneaking in the window to get in the building, but I'm calling you before I do, and you say, you know what, I got your back. Just go ahead and get up in there and do what you have to do for the kids. But I'll tell you this, and I want everybody to know this. Without Mike House, this wouldn't have been possible. It's not one time that I've called Mike House and I asked for something for the kids. It's not one time he haven't came through for me and for our babies. And Mike, you got vision, you got things going in the right direction. Yo, I really, really, really appreciate you. Thanks a ton. Now, I just want to talk about, and please forgive me if I forgot anybody, didn't mean to. But once again, I can't forget my wife. I want to thank her too because she's making peanut butter and jellies and she's washing uniforms. And one thing about my wife, one of my kids can call me at 2, 3 in the morning and she'll say, you know what, go ahead and check on them. Or our house is always open to my kids and here on the team, and it's not one time that anybody ever came over my house. I'm talking about for the last 12 to 15 years since I've been coaching here at Bennett High School, and they haven't been welcome. So she does an incredible job with that. And babe, if you listen and thank you, I love you for that. And the last thing that I really want to talk about before, I really recognize some of these young men. And everybody, we did go through a great deal of adversity this year. But like I was saying earlier, my favorite quote or something that I teach to the kids is that, and I started talking about it earlier, is that here at Bennett High School, we believe that adversity, it doesn't build character, it reveals character. And throughout history, because of course I'm a history teacher, the path through adversity has always measured greatness. That's what I want everybody to understand here. And I remember one of the hardest things I had to ever do in my life was go into that room that day and tell these group of young men that we had to forfeit games. Myself and Mr. Alvarez, we both, and I think the kids seen it in our eyes, I physically had to hold it together because looking at their eyes, they the one who gave me strength that day. Because if they would have started breaking down crying, I would have fell like a crumbling mountain. But these young men pulled up their bootstraps, and at that moment, they showed me what type of fathers they're going to be and what type of men in life they're going to be. And they showed me that day that they're going to fight and keep on fighting for the things that they care about and the things that they love. So as we continue to talk, and they told me, Coach, we got it. I said, hey, as long as they believe, I know we got it. And from that day, and from that day forward, we decided that we write our story, that we're going to turn the page, and each page will become a new chapter. And that's why when everybody asks me, well, hey, do you want the games back? Never. Because this will be the only team that ever won a state championship that have that asterisk by their name, 7-6. And I tell you, I am so proud of them for that. Because I know the next generation that these young men will be able to provide for themselves and for their families, because they're going to fight for what they love and care about. And I think that when it's all said and done, the best lesson that they learned from this is that together, that they could accomplish anything. So today, before I conclude with my statement, I just want to recognize some of the individual achievements that we had, and I want these young men to stand up. Jaden Lewis was the co-player of Section 6 and the co-player, offensive player of the year for the Buffalo News. Rashard Perry was also the co-player of the year, Buffalo News Player of the Year. Last time, believe it or not, that there was co-players of the year, and this is the first time this has ever happened in Western New York history, where two co-players of the year come from the same high school, and it was these two. And you know, I'm so proud of them. And they were first team all Western New York players. We have Xavier Goodman, stand up. He was a first team all Western New York player. We have Jameer Thomas, stand up. He was a first team all Western New York player. We have Jason Guam, stand up. He was a second team all Western New York player. We have Darnell Hamilton, stand up. He was a second team all Western New York player. We have Aaron Rosenberg, stand up. He was a second team all Western New York player. We have Kamari Cook, stand up. He was a third team all Western New York player. We have my son Noah McDuffie, stand up. He was a third team all Western New York player. We had Antonio Davis III, my man, stand up. He was honorable mention all Western New York. We had Kareem Hancock, stand up. He was honorable mention all Western New York. So this is probably the most players that have made all Western New York ever in all Western New York history. And, you know, I'm lucky to have them, but guess what? All of you Bennett Tigers, stand up, because guess what? You are the 22 champions of New York State. And Coach McDuffie love y'all. I love y'all. Without any further ado, I would like to turn this all back over to Mr. Mike Houck.
Yes, hold on, Coach McDuffie. One more thing. I'm going to turn it over to Coach O'Connor from the assistant coaches.
Yeah, my name's Bob O'Connor, and Steve and I met over 30 years ago. He was my assistant at St. Joe's for 4 years, and Steve was the first minority coach ever to coach at St. Joe's. And that's why I brought him on. And, you know, over the years, when I retired from St. Joe's, Steve called me up and said, Bob, I'm an assistant. He was an assistant at the time at Bennett High School. And he said, can you come over and help the program out? And I go, I don't know, Steve. You know, I don't know if I'm done or not yet. You know, I'm getting old. But anyway, I did. And so on and off for the last 12 years, what was it, 2010, Steve, we started? But I got to tell you this. Steve has just become a heck of a head football coach. I mean, the growth that I've seen in him from 30 years ago, but not only that, the caring that he has for his players is unparalleled. I've seen him pick guys up when they're down, I've seen Steve literally say, Bob, I got to run and pick a couple kids up. They don't have a ride here today. And that kind of became, when I first came from St. Joe's, it was like that was something I never really experienced because kids just always had a way to get there. And then I said, well, Steve, I'll pick some of the kids up for you. Where do you want me to go? Where's Sanders? There he is. This is the guy I take home every day from practice. His name is Chazen Warren. That's his real name. His nickname is Sanders. But anyway, there was a beautiful article written in the paper about Steve and Xavier Goodman. Xavier, come on up here for a minute, will you, please? And to me, it was such a touching article. Now, before it was in the paper, Steve and I had a conversation about this. And he explained what Xavier was going through and how he was in a really, really dark place. And he went over to his house to get him and picked him up and brought him to his own house and said, look, things are going to get better. And this was during COVID, and COVID affected a lot of people, a lot of us. But I just want to present Steve with this. It's the article that was in the paper. I had it made into a plaque for him. Thank you very much.
You are proof of what can happen if you dare to dream and dare to believe. When I look in your eyes, I see tomorrow. I am so proud of you guys. Vicariously, I lived a moment that I never got to share with my own sons up in Syracuse a couple of weeks ago. You guys gave that moment to me, and I will be forever grateful. At that moment, all the stuff that happens in regards to being on the board was worth it. And you gave me that gift. And you also gave me wind for my wings to continue to fight. I'm going to fight harder for you. Remember that Vaseline I talked about? Y'all remember that? Y'all remember that Vaseline? But anyway, I have the honor today to introduce a gentle giant. When I met this man, I asked him, how would you like to be introduced? And he basically said, keep it simple, keep it short. That tells you right there that when you are accomplished, you don't need anyone to say who you are or what you are about. It speaks for itself. So it is my honor today to introduce Thurman Thomas. But before he comes up, I want to tell you a little bit about him, because you need to know, just as you have achieved this, that there is more to do in life. And you are at the crossroads, and you need to keep moving forward. So let me tell you a little bit about him. I won't tell you all about him, but I'm going to tell you enough for you will remember, okay? How about an American college football player? How about professional football player, running back? How about first team? College Hall of Fame, a Pro Football Hall of Famer, former American football running back with the National Football League for 13 seasons, primarily with the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, give it up. Go Bills, go Bills. All the way, all the way. Mr. Thomas was selected to the Bills in the second round in 1988 NFL draft. He made the mistake and drank the water in Buffalo, and he's been stuck here ever since, okay? But we appreciate him and his wife, Patty, because they have won our love, our respect, and he is ours. Texas cannot have him anymore. He is ours, okay? He is our Buffalonian. It has been said about this gentle giant that if you call him and you are in need, that he will come and he will help. Because of that, he is here today to present to you the award-winning Bennett Tigers at the Bennett Nation, the first Thurman Thomas Trophy Cup Award. Mr. Thomas, would you come up?
Oh, that's nice. Can we meet same time next year with this? Thank you so much. It is such an honor to be here. It is such an honor to be here, to be with all of you great people. And as Coach McDuffie said, who I've been knowing for a long time, for you guys to overcome all the adversity that you did throughout the year. And hey, I read it. I knew what was going on. For you guys to do that, when you guys go home tonight, you know what? Pat yourself on the back. Pat yourself on the back, because what you accomplished and what you went through shows character. Shows character of a type of men, young men that you are. But it also tells me that you can achieve a lot. You can achieve a lot, especially being a team together. A team together. Now, you guys won this, right? You guys are going to be bonded forever, together. Together. I still talk to my high school teammates, and that was 40 years ago. I'm kind of telling my age now, but that was 40 years ago. And we still talk about the state championship that we won in Texas. We still talk about it. So you young men, keep working hard. Principal Alvarez, thank you for keeping these guys in line, especially with your grades. I know it can be tough. I know it can be tough when you don't want to go to algebra class, or you didn't study enough for that test. I know it can be tough. Keep looking forward, young men, and good things will happen to you. Superintendent Williams, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your leadership here. Thank you so much. It's great to be here. It's great to be back at Bennett again. And probably most importantly, thank you to the parents, the cousins, the friends, the aunties, the uncles, the grandparents. Thank you, because somebody in your life is going to keep pushing you. Somebody in your life is going to keep pushing you. I don't know if it's going to be all the people that I just named, but somebody in your life is going to keep pushing you. And you know what? Come next year, football season, I'm going to be on the sidelines as much as I possibly can. Because you know what? This is what it's about. It's about giving back to the community. And my wife and I have given back to this community so much. But you know what? After this, we need to do more. And I guarantee you, my wife and I are going to do more. And my kids are going to do more. So, hey, I want to see back-to-back next year. I want to be back-to-back. I want to go back to Syracuse. I want to do it all over again to let them know that we are Bennett, that we are Bennett, and we're a community, and we are together. Thank you guys so much for having me here today. It has been awesome. God bless you guys. And one last thing, go Bills.
All right. Okay. Count of three. 1, 2, 3. Okay, can we get the finger up? One finger. This is the power finger. This is the power of God. This is the power finger. Number 1. We are number 1. Number 1. We are one. Oh, yeah.
If I can have everyone's attention for 1 second, just to remind you that there is a parade tomorrow. We want a big turnout to show how much we support these scholar athletes. So buses will be lined up here at 9:30. 9:30 tomorrow morning, Bennett High School. Go Tigers.
Okay, it was upstairs.
So we're going to go right into some of my update, and it just makes sense after the wonderful celebration that we just witnessed to bring up one of our chiefs of instructional technology. Juliana Shalino has some exciting news to share about a Buffalo Bills bus donation.
Thank you, Dr. Williams and the board. I'm excited to be here today, even though following that is kind of, but I think you'll find it close to as exciting. So, a few years ago, the Buffalo Bills Social Justice Fund donated $500,000 to the district in support of the internet hotspots that went out to our families in the district. Shortly thereafter, we received federal funding to pay for those internet hotspots, so we were able to receive a generous refund, about approximately 3/4 of what we originally had to pay for those hotspots, did come back to us. Actually, Dr. Williams signed that check, that refund check, I think it was just last week. So the fund asked us, do you have another idea that would meet our mission? And of course, Director Sarah Edwards and I both said, oh yeah, we have an idea. And so we presented them with an idea that would be 2 mobile tech units supported by the Buffalo Bills Social Justice Fund that would go out into the community, into the neighborhood, driven by our Student Technology Leadership Program, where students would train and educate, as well as we would be able to assist with tech support out into our neighborhoods. And Admir, if you can, I would just like to show you our vision in video format. Gives you a pretty good idea of what we think is going to be one of the most exciting things we do from IT. So right over here, we might have to turn it for you just a little if you turn over there.
Everybody is familiar with a desert. Millions of acres of sand stretching beyond the horizon with little to no water anywhere to be seen. But have you ever heard the term tech desert? A tech desert is a term for a community that is seemingly cut off from many of the technological must-haves that we may take for granted in our everyday lives. The Buffalo Public Schools serves nearly 32,000 students, and equity for all is a fundamental and guiding principle. Yet, unfortunately, many of our students leave their tech-infused schools and go home to a tech desert, cut off from 21st century learning. With one location in South Buffalo designed to support families when they encounter tech problems, the community has asked for a solution, and the Buffalo Public Schools, under the leadership of Dr. Tanja Williams, has been listening. And with the support of the Buffalo Bills Social Justice Fund, we may just be in reach of a magical solution. A bus. You mean like a magic bus? No, a tech bus, but it would be magical. Our vision is to retrofit an RV and travel to our local tech deserts and provide the community with a very much needed technological oasis. Our BPS Bills Tech Bus would serve a number of possible different purposes, including providing families with a convenient place for not only repair services and tech help, but a place to replace their student devices. Our Magic Tech Bus could also serve as a roving portable Wi-Fi station, giving much needed internet access to our students who needed to complete homework assignments. The bus could also be used after school and on weekends to schedule community training, as well as providing exciting STEAM activities. That means science, technology, engineering, art, and math. What's even more exciting is that our Magic Tech Bus will be run with the help of Buffalo Public School students, student technology leaders who have already been trained to provide these essential services. And with education being the foundation of all of our futures, it would be the generational gift that keeps on giving. With your support, we can make Western New York a little bit smarter, a little bit techier, and a lot more magical. Oh, and one more thing should be mentioned. Go Bills.
Go Bills for sure. Now the real work begins. It was approved by the Players Leadership Committee, so we will be moving forward with connections with automotive companies and with a lot of work with our students. We will have calendars. We will be putting out information to the community once we get this all rolling, so they will know what a calendar is and what we'll be doing with training, as well as coming around to collect and redistribute devices and make everyone's lives a little bit easier and a lot more exciting around technology. Thank you.
Wow, now that is an example of taking things to the next level. We heard repeatedly that all families could not necessarily get out to School 28. It wasn't always convenient. And so our fairly recently new Chief of Technology, Chief Shalino, has been working very hard behind the scenes with the Bill staff to make this happen. Thank you, thank you. This is huge, and it's about equity for all in all that we do. This is an example of that. It's excellent, thank you. So please give her a hand. It's a lot of work that went into coordinating this. The next two pieces of my update, I'm going to turn over, one to Chief of Operations, David Hills, to give an update on transportation. I know that there's a lot of interest regarding transportation and where we are with things. We all know that we are possibly going to get a storm on Friday that's monumental. We know how our weather is in the winter. And so, you know, all of the questions and concerns seem to have gotten more heightened as we go further into winter. And so I'm going to turn things over to Chief Hills just to give a brief update and overview. And he will be followed by our Chief of School Technology, Darlene Jesnowski, and each one of our Chiefs of School Technology, because I think it's very important that everybody begin to hear about some of the data and some of the things that are happening in our schools. And who better to do that than our chiefs and our associates of school leadership who are in our schools every day. And so Chief Hills will be followed by Chief Jesnowski and Associate Watson, Associate Shedrick, Associate Murray, and Associate Perez. And then after that, I have two staff members that I'd like to introduce the board to.
Do you have that PowerPoint? Good evening, board members. Is this off or can you hear me? Okay. So just a brief update, very brief, November transportation. Just start me at the second slide. Every month we run the spreadsheet of the routes that have been uncovered or doubled in the morning and number of children impacted. Out of the 29,000 students that are transported every day over the 3 months, this is the trend we've seen. You've seen the September numbers, you've seen the October numbers. On average, in September, in the morning, it was 409 students. In the afternoon, 1,051 students on average. There's a wide variation in that average. Our high in September was around 1,700. There was a lot of days that were lower than that. In October, we saw the first week of October was really rough. Middle of October was better, and the last week of October was rough. On average, it was 232 students impacted in the morning, 805 in the afternoon. The November numbers are 65 students were impacted in the morning, 487 students on average impacted in the afternoon. And again, there's great variability there, but there was no afternoon over, I think, well, you'll see it on the later graph. So, Admir. So the positive trends. 8 days out of the 14 in November, and we did have a couple days of holidays, and we did have a couple days, there were still 14 days of school. 8 of those days, over half, the morning routes were fully covered, which would be 0 students impacted. Uncovered routes impacted 65 students on average. PM routes that were impacted range from 0 to 8 routes. Again, there's a great variability. On average, we're in 65 students in November. After-school programming is continuing with students with children who are walkers or have parents who can pick them up so they can participate. After-school athletics program has 6 buses. Before the pandemic, we had 6 buses. There was a time when we had 12, but it's been a while. Field trips are still being provided, curriculum instruction in the music department. There were robust field trips provided for all schools. There are cultural organizations, field trips are provided, and individual schools are arranging to have buses during the school day where they can have field trips. Next slide. The Operation Sunrise Transportation Committee is continuing to meet to really proactively remedy issues and come up with solutions. The January 3 launch of the parent reimbursement for over 1,500 students. We have been conducting informational meetings all week for those. The NICED Commissioner, Dr. Betty Rose, has been very abreast of the issues and engaged. We've continued to discuss the 3 bell time structure, which is subject to collective bargaining, and we're reviewing with the BTF and trying to address the concerns there. And we continue to review the data to see how we can support the most impacted schools. Next slide. There have been a lot of efforts to increase drivers. First Student continues to recruit and train drivers. September started with 440 drivers. At the beginning of November, there were about 461. Current count is 472 drivers. They have over 100 applicants per week. They're running training classes for once you apply, you're able to get trained and to take your CDL. The superintendent and her staff met with the National Chief Operating Officer for First Student, the Senior Vice President of Operations for First Student, the Regional Manager for First Student, the Western New York Region Manager, and the local manager for First Student to review our concerns, and the superintendent was clear that we cannot have a situation where we take steps back in the winter as we have in other years. We have to continue to provide buses and drivers for students in the morning. As a result of that, First Student has secured 12 or more drivers from various locations around the country to be brought in to work from Christmas to February break to help us through that time. They're actually closer to 20 as of yesterday. Each driver that's coming from out of town has to be cleared to be a driver in New York State. So there's an extensive process they're going through for each driver. We were hoping to have a substantial number of drivers so that we don't have any uncovered routes. And we're actually looking at some of our long routes, our very packed buses, and looking to divide those routes during that time when we have extra drivers so we can hopefully ease some of the pain of our morning and afternoon transportation. TV ads have been running on Channel 2, Channel 7, Hallmark, BT, Lifetime. There's a new one that started on Channel 7 just last week. And we continue to work with Erie County Clerk and DMV to encourage CDL participation. We're working to set up in adult ed to have also the ability to support CDL pathways. The CDL, according to the DMV, one of the biggest challenges is not only the very rigorous engine part and identification, but the ability to implement the air brake and to correctly use the air brake is also a significant challenge. So we are continuing to see how we can get more people past the CDL. So this is the November numbers. You've seen this graph for other months. You do see the wide variation because the way these go in batches. We either have 2 or 3 buses or no buses when each time it will increase by the number of kids on that bus. So the day-to-day variation can be very, very, very steep. You do have that golden day in the middle of November where we had no students impact in the morning, no students impact in the afternoon. So we're hoping to see more of those days. Next slide. So you've kind of seen the format. We've kind of used the benchmark of 10 impacted AM routes and 10 impacted PM routes. We looked at 100 for the whole year last year. 10 is a little bit misleading for November because it doesn't have the same critical mass of days as October and September had. But even if we look at the number of schools that had 5, 84 had 5 impacted routes, 81 had 3, 95 had 3 in the morning. So we're looking at a significant improvement in November for the morning. The top impacted PM schools are 45, 54, 72, 79, and 80, and 2 non-BPS sites at this level. 45 has been on that list since the beginning of the year, 72 has been on that list at the beginning of the year, 79 has been on that list since the beginning of the year. 80 and 54 have been on for 2 months. They were on October and November. So we're looking to see how we can address that. The drivers bid their routes in November, so those are the schools we're going to look at when we get the extra drivers in January to provide support to. Next slide. And I'm going to keep saying this every time. Our bus drivers and our bus aides, our bus staff, our frontline staff and main offices, they have a very difficult job. Whenever you get a chance, thank a bus driver. You see them on the corner, door open, just holler in. I love the work you're doing. Thank you so much for keeping our kids safe. It is tremendous labor of love, and whenever you get a chance, thank a bus driver and a bus aide and our frontline staff. And members of the board, I think that's all I have. Do you want me to take any questions, or?
Do the members of the board have any questions regarding the transportation update? Thank you very much, Mr. Hills. We appreciate the efforts.
As the team comes forward, I would ask if Chief Jesnowski could begin by just introducing our new associate, Perez. I don't think we introduced him at our last meeting, and we're very pleased that he's joined our staff.
So I'll introduce all the associates of school leadership. I have Karen Murray. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Is that better? Yes? A little bit better. Karen Murray, Raphael Perez, Charlene Watson, and Tanika Shedrick. And Tanika is actually handing out our assignments by associate for each school. So a little bit about our office. We oversee all 60 schools in the district, and we work side by side with our principals and our teachers. And one of our main focuses—
Chief Jesnowski, I'm sorry, there's some that are saying they still can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Quite clear. A little louder.
Okay. Louder? Okay. Excuse me, my voice is still not where it should be from when I went to the game in Syracuse and I was yelling and screaming for Bennett Tiger, so my voice is still a little So our main goal as associates of school leadership is to work side by side with our principals and our teachers. And we really focus in on data when we work with our schools to ensure student achievement. So if, Admir, if you could bring up our presentation, please. Next slide, please. So we always focus on Dr. Williams' 5 goals: eliminate achievement and opportunity gaps, access to educational excellence and accelerated learning, prioritize safety, security, and wellness, amplify all voices and cultivate trust, and activate partnerships. Next slide, please. So let us begin with looking at some suspension data. Short-term suspensions district-wide are down 18% from November 2021 to November 2022. They are down 18%. Short-term suspensions are down 18%. 18%. Long-term suspensions are down 26% from 2021 to November 2022. So next slide, please. Our Associate Superintendent, Tanika Shedrick, will now share interventions that schools are currently implementing to continue our trend of reducing the number of suspensions in our schools.
Good evening, Board President, Board members, Dr. Williams, Cabinet members, community members. This past summer, I believe we had some of our lovely board members attend our Admin Institute. We were able to cover a lot of things to help support principals in our work and throughout the school year to help reduce suspensions. At the Institute this summer, Dr. Brown, along with her team, along with Dr. Fatima Morel, engaged us in scenarios to help us fit the code of conduct with the behaviors we're seeing most frequently in our buildings. This promoted robust discussion, and it allowed our administrators to see some innovative ways that in interventions that have always been there, but how they can actually effectively use them in the building. For example, what's presented on the slide before you are interventions and also preventative strategies to help reduce suspensions. For example, an alternative to suspension is an in lieu of suspension conference with the parent. This oftentimes turns into actually a collaborative session or a community conference with the parent, the teachers, as well as with the administrators. Check-in, check-out is another Tier 2 intervention that we use to where the student can connect with an adult in the building the majority of the time of their choosing, to where we can talk about positive behavioral expectation that the student will need to be successful. Another intervention that's Tier 2 is our social academic instructional groups, to where students are able to meet in small groups with a member of our SST to receive direct instruction concerning school-wide expectations and even discuss some of the things that are barriers they may be experiencing when it comes to following those school-wide expectations. There's mentoring, there's functional behavior assessments to where we can identify specific behaviors that need more support and also identify strategies and measure the effectiveness of those strategies. We also do the same with Tier 2 and Tier 3 brief or complex behavior support plans. We have problem-solving team meetings that were introduced, as well as wraparound meetings and services. One of my favorites, culturally relevant restorative practices that they learned about at the Summer Institute and continue to have dialogue around. And one of the responses that we want to see from these interventions is to foster a positive relationship with our students and with our families. This is fostered through morning meetings, student advisories, student ambassadors, conflict resolution to where we're empowering the student to take responsibility of not only their actions, but also of their solutions, peer mediation, and also restorative practices. Next slide, please. In our schools, we're seeing just that. So when we're talking and coaching our principals and going on school visits and talking with families, we're making sure that families are understanding of the different options and interventions. So we're seeing the in lieu of suspension meetings. We're seeing Saturday Academy community service in lieu of a suspension. Check-in, check-out at the lower levels, check and connect at high school, SAG meetings, restorative circles, counseling. Now here's the best part about it. Our partnerships with Best Self, with Kaleida and other agencies allow us to not only have counseling for the student, but in some instances for the entire family. So we're trying to help the student holistically. Lunch Bunch is another favorite, to where students can go and actually sit with a teacher, sit with an SST member, and have discussions about things they may be experiencing. Mentoring, our FBAs and BSPs we talked about. Also second step lessons. So at the lower levels, we have second step as an SEL program to where we can actually implement lessons in the classroom and then talk with the parent about the same lesson, so that way we're sharing the same language. So when the student hears it at home, they're also hearing it in the school building. We just celebrated Red Ribbon Week in October, to where it was our anti-bullying campaign, and it's a national campaign, to where our students were able to make pledges to how they want to keep their schools bully-free. We also have problem-solving team meetings, to where your SST, your administrative staff, some of your partners can come and we can look at individual students and come up with solutions. We even have student support liaisons that can come out and meet with the problem-solving team to help with students who may need us the most. Wraparound services, advisory group, we have one school that actually have separated their school into houses. So we actually have a house competition concerning attendance right now and making sure that students are in the building. Morning meetings and peer mentoring. These are just a few things that we're doing to help reduce suspensions, to help the student, and to make sure that they're connected positively in the school building.
Thank you, Associate Shedrick. Next, we would like to present our attendance interventions. When it comes to attendance data, 40% of our schools have shown an increase in student attendance this year. Associate Superintendent Karen Murray will share strategies and interventions that schools are utilizing to increase student attendance.
Good evening. As I sat here tonight and saw Principal Alvarez, I was brought back to the time when I worked with him as an assistant principal. Our vision at the time was to work hard and celebrate successes, and I'm hoping that this attendance segment highlights the successes that I'm seeing throughout schools in an effort to increase student attendance. Since being brought in late November, I had the opportunity to visit all of my schools. As an ASL, I had the privilege of meeting with school principals and leadership teams and witnessing firsthand all the good things that schools are doing to ensure that students come to school. In addition, stakeholders collaborate and think outside the box to develop strategies to address attendance issues and deficits. These strategies are often unique, as no school or student is the same. There are 3 tiers of intervention designed to increase student attendance rates. Here are just a few, but we decided to break them down by the tiers. So for Tier 1, the positive behavioral interventions and supports, the PBIS teams establish expectations around attendance and behavior. When students meet those expectations, they are often awarded with tickets, and they are entered in for drawings and receive incentives. Those incentives are often student-driven, hence amplifying student voice. The Freddie initiative is a attendance counts initiative for students in grades pre-K and K, and it's an incentive to build good attendance habits early on. There are buddy systems in schools where students are assigned an attendance buddy or an accountability partner to hold one another accountable to come to school and have good attendance. Field trips, those serve as extrinsic motivators as students love opportunities to learn hands-on. Anything that is student-initiated, such as the football parades, dances, and concerts where students' voices are heard. Amplifying student voices, that strong sense of community always results in high attendance. There are HERO programs across our buildings. HERO is an acronym that stands for Here, Every Day, Ready, On Time. That initiative also involves parents and caregivers. If a child attends school every day, their parents are put into a drawing for prizes. Students' names are announced on the morning announcements and displayed on bulletin boards. Next slide, please. Some Tier 2 interventions. Chico, check in, check out, or check and connect at high school. This is another example of student voice. Oftentimes, students are asked for the mentor that they would like to be teamed up with. That student meets with that person as they enter school at arrival and at dismissal. The student's check-in, check-out is reviewed with the mentor and the child. If a child doesn't meet points in a particular period of the day, such as math, it is reflected upon. For instance, a mentor might say, "You met all your points in every period today except math. Tell me what happened in math, and what can you do better tomorrow? Tomorrow is always a new day." SAY groups are social, academic, and instructional groups. Those are small groups that are facilitated by SST oftentimes during lunch, and they provide students with supports around social skills, problem-solving strategies, and academic supports. And the RFA, the ball is often in the teachers' courts, so teachers are asked to first be the ones in the front lines attempting to make contact with parents, guardians, and emergency contacts. And if no contact can be made, then they are directed to submit a request for assistance. And when a request for assistance is submitted for attendance concerns, the child is then assigned to an attendance teacher or an attendance designee in the building. And last, there are some supports listed for Tier 3 interventions, such as home visits, referrals to community-based providers, and family and student conferences.
Thank you, Associate Murray. Next, based on New York State assessment data, we have seen a decrease in students reaching proficiency on the New York State assessments. As a district, we need to focus on fluency in math due to the math assessment data. Associate Superintendent Rafael Perez will share some exciting news around First in Math initiative. Next slide, please. Next slide.
Buenas noches. Good evening, Superintendent Williams and esteemed board members. We got a lot of great things happening in Buffalo. Our suspensions are down. Our attendance rates are going up. We have a championship football team right here. Not to mention our boys, right, that we're going to have 2 championship football teams here. And among the great things happening in our schools is First in Math. First in Math, it's an online math fluency practice site for our kindergarten through 5th grade students, and it offers many ways to master facts, to practice procedural skills, and to engage in problem solving. And what makes this great is, one, it's adaptive. It meets the child where the child is, right? It's based on the needs of that child. It's individualized. It's gamified. It's a new word for me, gamified. All it means is that children are playing a game and they're learning through play. They're learning through playing a game, and a great way to meet our children the way that they live their lives nowadays, which is many of them are playing games online, are playing games at home. So it's gamified. And one dear to me is that it's English language learner friendly. It's ELL friendly. The creators of this program were very purposeful in making sure that they were very rich illustrations to ensure that our L's are able to access the content. This was given to all public schools in New York State. So all children in the state of New York have access to First in Math. What that's going to lead to is that in March of 2023, BPS, Buffalo Public Schools, is going to be part of a statewide First in Math tournament. So I'm hoping we have 3 champions, right? I'm hoping that we have the Tigers, the Bills, and that we are First in Math. Okay? And what is the expectation? What are we asking? We are asking that you dedicate, that the child, right, through principals, through teachers, through their lesson planning, we're asking that they dedicate 15 minutes a day. And the research shows that in 15 minutes, it's going to increase your math fluency and test scores. Okay? We're asking, when we meet with principals every month, how are you seeing this in the classroom? How are you seeing it implemented? It can be independent work, it can be small group work, it can be whole group instruction, it can be during the core block or during RTI, and it could be sent home as homework, because you know that all of our children have a device. Now, we're encouraging principals. We're encouraging the use of First in Math because we know that it works when it's used as intended, when it's used with fidelity. So via the weekly bulletin, we are recognizing schools every week that have the highest number of stickers earned. That's how children, they level up, they upgrade based on the stickers that they earn. And every 3 problems that they solve correctly, they earn 1 sticker. Every week, we recognize a student of the week, we recognize a class of the week, and we recognize a school of the week. And the competition has been fierce. To date, if you see that number there, that 3 million number, if you're wondering what that number is, to date, our children have earned 3,432,172 stickers. That is a huge accomplishment. And I've been practicing in First in Math, and I could tell you that 3,432,172 translates into 10,296,516 math problems that were answered correctly. So kudos to the principals, to the teachers, and to our children that are putting in the work and the time. You see a number there, 23,944. I told you the competition was fierce. For the entire month of November, we had one school that was dominating the leaderboard. One school. I won't mention the school.
Why not?
Oh, okay, School 94. Okay, yes, thank you. And I remember as a principal, I one day had a basketball game against Principal Owens, and she beat me. So when I saw that she was dominating the leaderboard, I started as principal. I started my job here as an ASL on November 21st. When I saw that she was the leader, she was in the lead, I said, wait a minute. We got to go ahead and let's get that competition going. And that number, 23,944, are the tickets that were earned by my school, School 30, right, to dethrone Principal Owens. So in the spirit of competition, we got our kids learning. And I just want to say that learning while having fun is going to also improve our attendance and our suspensions. Gracias.
Thank you, Associate Perez. Next, we are going to talk about our high schools, and we continue to monitor cohort data. Associate Superintendent Charlene Watson meets monthly with principals to review this data and to keep a pulse on student progress toward graduation. She will now share updates with you on this data. Associate Wilson, and could you please move Watson, I'm sorry, Associate Watson.
Thank you. Good evening, board members, Superintendent Watson. Listen to me. Superintendent Williams, cabinet members, and our community members. I have had the distinct pleasure of visiting over 18 high schools since school started. And when I tell you I had a fabulous time, I had a fabulous time. I talked to students, I talked to parents, I talked to teachers. Those who know me, you know I'm a talker. So that's what I do best. But the good news is that as of, I would say, November 15th of this year, 60% of our seniors, 60% of our seniors could walk across the stage November 15th if graduation was held on that day. Now, I know that's not a high number, and we still have a lot of work to do, but great things are happening in our high schools. Next slide, please. So the chart there, this system is developed by the early warning indicators under Ebony Bullock's office. So even though most high schools use red, green, yellow, they use gold, silver, and bronze. So the 60% represents, 61% is the gold. That's how many of our seniors are ready to graduate, meaning they have met their examination requirements for 5 Regents exams, and at the end of June, they will have earned 22 credits to graduate. And in some of the CTE schools, students have 25, 30 credits, thanks to the CTE programs. The next box is silver, which is 26% of our students who still have a few exams to take in January. And then the bronze is 13%, and those students have either attendance issues or grade issues, and they have to take more than 2 Regents exams in January and or June. So our principals have plans in place to help support these students. Some students have to do mandatory extended learning time after school. Some students are working with teachers at Saturday community schools. Parent conferences have been held, and most principals have a tracking system in place so that it's live and that senior teachers, counselors, and administrators can always look and see where our students stand each day. So again, we are doing great work in our Buffalo Public High Schools, and this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Associate Watson. Next slide, please. Schools are an integral part of the community. Schools foster positive relationships with students and families in an effort to increase attendance, decrease suspensions, and to support student achievement. These are just a few of the exciting innovations that are happening in our schools. Next slide, Amir. So at our schools, we have giving trees, Volley Power, students volunteering to carol at school functions, students collecting donations to support McKinney-Vento students, Winter Fest celebrations, holiday luncheons, student government elections where students hold voting, student technology leadership programs, math night for families. Again, these are some of the innovations that we've had the privilege to witness in our schools. And all of this working together is really showing how we work as a school community to ensure student achievement within our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Jesnowski and all of the associates. As you can see, we are not playing. We are very serious about the work we're doing, as are our principals, the staff in schools, our parent leaders, our caregivers. We are serious about what we are doing, and I thought it was important for the board and for constituents and community members to hear some solid data. I think it's important because our data tells a narrative. And if we don't tell what the narrative really is by what the data really says, I think we've been more transparent than we've been in a very long time over the last few months, then others will create a narrative that may not necessarily reflect the work that's happening. And so most every board meeting, we're going to keep bringing data back to you to let you know that we're very serious about meeting the goals that we set forth. We're working hard. And the night that I was appointed, I shared that we will be the bridge over troubled waters for our children, and we invite people to come and link arms with us. But if you're not linking arms with us and you're drilling holes, I ask you to just step aside and watch us as we continue to build that bridge. We're very serious about the work that we're doing. So I want to thank the team. Thank you. And step aside, step aside. And so I would like to ask Tammy Holly McGee to just come up and introduce. She has hired a deputy director, a deputy for human resources, and goodness knows that she has needed this position filled for a long time. She works very hard, but I wanted the board to be able to meet her new staff member.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Thank you, board members. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Michael Anastasia. He's coming to us with a great amount of experience. He was a former AP in Texas and in Amherst with the Sweet Home School District. His last employment was doing HR and finance with a local charter school here in Buffalo, and now he has joined our Buffalo Public Schools family, and it has been phenomenal. Come on up, Michael. Welcome. And he has been a great help. He's been here with us for about 2 weeks now. He has already met with several of the cabinet members. He and Jim Barnes have become best friends, and they're going to work some things out and make sure that we're working efficiently and effectively and with great customer service in our Human Resources Department. So look for some fantastic changes with the help of Michael joining us. Thank you.
So what I would like to add on to this is I want to just reaffirm, as I think we should as often as possible, that our students are talented, our students are strong, and our students deserve a positive school climate, academic rigor, safe, responsive, and supportive schools. And I think you saw tonight how we're moving in that direction. We will continue. We will not rest, as Dr. Williams said, until we get to that for every single student. I know I had a few board members that wanted to make some comments. I'll open up the floor right now. Did anybody wish to add on based on our presentation? Mr.
Real
Scott.
quick, is this on? From the presentation, the very informative presentation that was given, this mic is working. I don't have one. Just a request for you to provide that very informative presentation to the board members. The one that was just presented from the Associates of School Leadership. Thank you.
We'll do that, and we'll make sure it's in board docs as well, because the public can access board docs, so if you want to see any presentations that we give, it is freely available for you to see. Thank you very much. So with that, I'd like to turn over to our student board representative for their update.
Hello, everyone. I'm a senior at Da Vinci High School. Yeah. Is this good? Yep. Okay. I'm a senior at Da Vinci High School, and I'm the vice president of the Inner High, which is basically the student government within the Buffalo Public Schools. Graydon Hilmy, I'm a senior at Da Vinci. Our last meeting was last week on December 14th. We did a few activities with the whole group, and we had people from, I think, around 10 of the high schools came. So we had good attendance this month. As a group, we analyzed 10 alternatives to suspensions, and from a research article written by the University of Minnesota. We discussed what is in place in the Buffalo schools and what method from the article would work best. So we created a poll, and then here were the options. They were peer jury, community service, parent involvement, problem solving, behavior monitoring, and in-school suspensions. So those were just a few options from the University of Minnesota article. We're going to come back with more data on that because we were going to have basically everyone's thoughts on that within the Buffalo Public Schools. During our monthly meetings, we always have a wellness activity for the group because everyone likes to have a little game. We learned about the STOP strategy, which is a great strategy for within the classroom. STOP means stop, take a breath, observe, and proceed. So that could be used for students who were in the meeting. If you ever have anxiety within the classroom, those are 4 steps. We then did a short activity sharing who or what brought light into your life in 2022. So we just basically wanted to say, you know, there's so many negative things coming out, but acknowledge what in your life has brought, you know, positive vibes in 2022. Going into 2023, there's a few goals for Inner High. Our goals are to have in-person meetings because virtual meetings are just too difficult. We have people unmuting and unable to share all sorts of PowerPoints. There's issues, and in-person meetings would be the best way to get our students involved because I've been on virtual meetings with students from other schools, but I don't really know them as much as I would like to. Our other thing is we want 100% participation from the other schools within the Inner High. So we're trying to get as many students from the other schools to join our meetings, and that's going to be with more visibility. So we're going to have more Inner High information in the BPS website, and we're going to give them out to the announcements. So no longer will the Inner High be some sort of thing that most students don't know about, because that's what I learned going into this role. I did not know about this until this year. So if we have more visibility and we have more information out there, we're going to get more participation, which we want. You know, we don't want just adults speaking, we want students also here at these meetings too. So we did 4 activities last week, and we'd also like to thank Ms. Belton Cotman for joining our December Inner High. That was great to have you join. I know we had some difficulties with the PowerPoints, but it was great having you there. We also want to recognize any students in the audience. If any student has come today, please stand up. That'll change for next time. Next time we'll, oh, right there. Thank you for coming, and I just want to say, like, coming to these meetings is very important, and if you have an inner high in your school, or if you don't know about it, please speak to one of your teachers and join anytime you want. We have it once a month, and just come and speak about what's been going on in your school. We do different activities. Like I said, we were talking about alternative to suspensions and other activities like games. Last thing is, I'd just like to say, I hope everyone has a happy holidays, and I hope that 2023 is a great year for the Buffalo Public Schools and for the Inner High.
Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation, as well as the work you're doing to center student voice, because students are the very center of everything we're doing. So with that, I'd like to open up to our comments from speakers. I'd like to remind our community that the board welcomes speakers who have signed up to speak at tonight's meeting. Please be reminded that all speakers' remarks must be limited to 3 minutes or less. We ask that speakers be mindful that this is a business meeting, open to public, televised locally. Attendees and viewers, including persons from throughout Western New York, including children. The board asks that speakers conduct themselves professionally and that their comments remain civil and courteous, bearing in mind that they will be heard by people of all ages. This is an opportunity for Buffalo's residents to address the Buffalo Board of Education about issues that serve the public interest and the district mission, and the board asks that speakers demonstrate appropriate decorum. With that, I'd like to start with Carolette Meadows, concerned citizen, regarding the leasing of property at Buffalo State.
Diversity in teachers. Okay, I won't drag on the thing about the building for at Buff State, because I know a lot of people have already protested it. So I think it's already been made painfully clear. It's been made painfully clear that the public does not want taxpayer dollars squandered on a building that we don't own, and then we're going to turn around and lease that we're repairing for someone else. That's just ridiculous. The next thing I'll talk about is the teacher contract. And I'm going to implore the board to not settle the contract without a residency requirement. There is no other government employee who makes a high 5 to 6 figures off of taxpayers without being a part of the tax base that they're drawing off of. And as long as there is no residency requirement for teachers, teachers will not as a whole be invested in the community. And we will continue to have teachers that want over $300 million in COVID funds selfishly line their own pockets while providing a customer service that produces non-college or trade-ready kids. I kind of feel like the saying of don't defecate where you eat applies to education, because teachers mostly live out of the district with their kids and have their kids in criteria schools. So their kids get to eat and get the profits and the spoils while our kids get what's in the toilet. Equity is not a catchphrase. There is no equity for you to make the kind of money that you make and your kids profit and live somewhere else, while our kids, who are the ones you're making your salary. An 8-year-old boy, a parent called me, an 8-year-old boy was accused of sexual abuse by a little girl. The school did not review the video or speak with students before calling police, who sent 3, and I'm gonna assume they were resource officers, to the school for an 8-year-old, 3 resource officers. Turns out this girl lied. And I wanna know, and I asked her to find out and to send an email to Ms. Shua and probably a senior at-large member to help her out because she's new. Because I wanna know where this little girl's punishment is for bullying and sexual harassment of this little boy. Our girls cannot grow up thinking they can weaponize their vaginas. Our boys need just as much protection as girls. And a small boy should be treated with dignity and respect, and should not have a bunch of adults around him assuming that he did something wrong. Because according to this parent, the police confronted this boy and she had to stop the police officers from talking to her son and admonishing her son. And then they found out after she stopped them and demanded that they review the video that the little boy was nowhere near this little girl. So that was where that was, and hopefully the board will look into this. I don't know if there's a board member from at large that would like to volunteer right now, and I can forward the information for that parent along with Ms. Shua, and that's it for me.
Thank you, Ms. Meadows. Next, I'd like to call up Selena Irene, parent, regarding the management of Native American education in BPS.
Oh, yeah.
Nyale Scano, Selena Nikyaso. Hi, my name is Selena Irene. I'm a member of Seneca Nation of Indians. I'm Wolf Clan, Otione. The current is, can you guys hear me? The current micromanagement of the Buffalo Native education is creating larger inequalities across the district. We don't have anyone that is looking at how to improve our Native program over the next 5 years and how to strengthen it and improve it. The current administrative staff overseeing this grant is only looking at the program as a year-to-year program, and that is restricting and limiting the program's effectiveness and longevity. We should have our own department like every other federal grant in the BPS district. The current leadership doesn't have the knowledge and experience to be running our Native American program. I believe our Native American Resource Program should be a standalone program under someone who is culturally competent. We, the Native American Parent-Student Committee, has been working and holding meetings and working with the multilingual department for years. And every time we discuss any kind of Native activities or Native events for our community, they're like a deer in headlights every time, like it's their first time meeting with the Native American Parent Committee. Sorry, that was something new I added today. I signed up to speak tonight because I strongly believe that our Native students in Buffalo are not getting the services that the Indian Education Grant objectives say they are getting. Our Native program still is all over the place right now, and School 19 has always been the Native program's hub. We need to rebuild our Native program back up at School 19. First and foremost, because the resources are slowly being removed from School 19, especially the cultural resource specialists. There's still no full-time staff at School 19. The Native American coordinator still works at School 4. She has not attended any Native events or parent committee meetings this year. When we asked for a Native American coordinator, we specifically asked for a person who was going to advocate for our students and our program. The highest number of Native students is still on the west side of Buffalo by School 19. There's flyers that say the Native American coordinator's contact information is at school number 4. I didn't get to finish, but that's okay, I'll be back.
We look forward to seeing you again. Thank you very much, Ms. Irene. Our next speaker is Kamal Fields, parent, regarding no confidence.
Blessed love family. First of all, you should do something about the acoustics in this place, but that's another thing. Putting students and families first to ensure high academic achievement for all, the mission statement of the Board of Education. Congratulations to the Bennett Tigers. Sitting here since 5:30, it's now 7:30 or more. This is number 4 on the item list, and you have over 30 items yet to go, 30 items on your list. So I think you should think about possibly rearranging your agenda so that parents or community doesn't have to sit here for 2 hours before we get a chance to speak. And I feel sorry for those of you who have to stay for the next 26 items on your agenda. Working together works, and a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. I have heard no one address the issue of the no confidence vote that was given. The link is the parents, the students, the administration, the teachers, all of those are part of the link. When you have a part of your link voting no confidence, that shows that something needs to be addressed. If a part of your link seems to care more about itself than the rest of the chain, that's a problem. We need to address the issues that there is, as we have seen the example here, no I in team, but it seems that the teachers feel that they are the only one of importance in this system. I'm glad that we see the example that adversity is a setback, but it's only a setup for a comeback, and I'm glad that Bennett Tigers showed that and proved that. I'm really hoping that we can learn to work together and really get something done for the students. I've had 6 decades of activity with the Board of Education, from being a student to being a parent to being an advocate. And I've seen this system seem to go backwards rather than forward. I'd like to know, it seems like it was just a congratulations about how great we are. What number of our students, what percentage of our students can read, write, and do math on grade level now? What percentage of our students can graduate college and career ready? What is the progress in that? There's still seems to be conflict in just getting students to school, and it seems that a lot of the parents groups have that as their attention and seems to have forgotten the idea that education is the goal. How many of our students can read, write, and do math on grade level and can graduate career and college ready? Those are the questions that I think are important. And like I said before, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and working together does work. So let's work together and make progress in this school system. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fields. Our next speaker is Michelle Hall, teacher concerned citizen, regarding voicing student concerns.
Good afternoon. How are you? Evening, whatever the time of day is. I am Michelle Hall. I do it all. And Mr. Mark Bruno gave me a call to tell me he's not able to speak today. And as you know, Mark is here at every meeting, and he's beside himself because he's taking care of his sick child, which, as you know, he is also a Buffalo Public School resident, teacher. He lives here. His kid goes to school here. He's very invested. I'm actually honored to be here at Bennett High School. My entire family went to school here. My mom, my dad, my 6 uncles. So thank you for hosting at different buildings, because it brings me such nostalgia. It filled my heart to be here. So I'm going to kind of speak for Mark and then speak for myself at the end, because he really, really wanted to get his words out there, and I was supposed to do something with a student, and she kind of backed out, but I digress. Here we go. He says, I sincerely apologize for not being at the Board of Education meeting tonight. My 5-year-old son, Rocco, was homesick with mom all day, and she worked from home, and she needed a break, and here I am now taking care of him. Number 2, I'm very much looking forward to speaking about all the school's success and all the awesome stories that you also heard about today, which was perfect, because he was basically going to just continue on talking about the greatness that's already taken place around the district. We tend to see graduation rates as the sole focus in news from some politicians and state agencies, but we don't hear much about is the struggles of many of our beloved students as they go through on a daily basis before they even get to our schools. Poverty, the loss sometimes of both parents, and so many other forms of extreme trauma. So many of our students are real heroes who get up every day, come to school when they most want to just throw in the towel. We also wanted to give a big, huge congratulations to the Bennett Tigers, whoop whoop, and their coaching staff. I once was a Mac High Bulldog back in the good old 2002. So now you all know how old I am. I was a Mac Bulldog proud, so I'm glad that Bennett is continuing that on. I really don't think that the BPS and city could be any prouder. Lastly, but far from least, we wanted to express our heartfelt prayers going out to the Harris-Tig family because we know that this is the first holiday season without her. She just simply radiated love, and as you know, she was one of my professors at McKinley. And her positive energy, and we just hope that they find some comfort in all the lives that she touched throughout her time here at Buffalo Public Schools. So may God bless her and her beautiful family. I also had an opportunity to take part in the Buffalo Public Schools Office of Parent and Family Engagement and Partnership with the High Expectations, and it was so much fun. I never thought a PD learning experience would really be such a great learning time with parents. Like, we don't really get time to pick the brains of the parents, and so we did. And so we took that information and we ran with it at Mikowski. You all know I'm from there, and I'm very proud to be a part of that team. The STEAM program is just off and rolling. We've got our WAS Ed going. We've got Osmo coding. We are taking these kids, you know all about Osmo. We are taking it to that next level that many of you want. We are doing it. It is happening. I promise. I'll be back next time because I got to talk about my part. And so Ezekiel loves Osmo. And he's 5, and he does it.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Hall. Next is Monica Stevens, parent, BPTO, regarding the bell time change.
Thank you, Dr. Williams and members of the board. Following the Common Council resolution to declare a state of emergency over busing, BPTO, the Buffalo Parent Teacher Organization, surveyed parents to solicit opinions instead of relying on the narratives provided by charter school operatives lobbying for a 3-bell schedule. We distributed our survey in social media, parent groups, sent it out to school newsletters and email lists, and it was shared by Channel 7 News. We received 434 responses, including 337 from parents. The results show that parents are strongly opposed to this proposal. 86% of parents do not support any change in bell schedule. 6% support a change as soon as possible, and 5% support a change at the start of the next school year. Despite what we have heard in the media by a charter school advocate, 75% of district parents rated their bus service over the last month as good or excellent, which aligns with what David Hills presented. Only 2 parents that support an immediate change in bell schedule ranked their bus service as very poor and 1 as poor. Combined, this represents only 1% of parents in the survey. Yet this seems to be the parent position that has been represented in the news and by Operation Sunrise. In our survey, many parents expressed anger, distrust, and a sense of fear over this proposal. 36% were concerned about the economic impacts a change in bell time would have to their families. This included conflicts with parents' work schedule, inability to maintain a career, and the need for additional childcare. 34% raised the problem this creates for their family schedule, including the loss of after-school activities, loss of family time, and problems with parental custody agreements. 20% worried about the adverse impacts to the health and wellness of their children, including the loss of sleep and the exacerbating problems for children with disabilities. Your strategic plan indicates an interest in amplifying the voices of parents, including parents, caregivers, and community stakeholders. As parents, we want to be abundantly clear. We oppose a change in bell schedule. However, we are curious on the role charter schools play in this proposal, as no charter school was listed as facing a change in start time. These parents' opinions are echoed by the scientific research connecting a loss of sleep to earlier start times, and with poor academic performance, increased absences, reduced attention, childhood depression, and increased behavioral problems such as fighting and self-harm. Additionally, lower family income from the loss of parent employment is strongly associated with poor academic achievement and lower test scores. These are already areas of concern for BPS that would be exacerbated by a 3-bell schedule. The teachers are opposed to this, the parents are against this, and the research is against this. Please stop considering this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens. Next up is Joe Masha, concerned citizen regarding my termination. Mr. Masha, are you in the audience? No, I think we'll move on. Next up is Sherry Sherrill, Covington Associates Consulting, regarding positive youth development.
Hello, thank you. My name is actually pronounced Sherrill, but that was close enough. Thank you so much. As the handout is being passed out, I just want to note, this has been just an incredible encounter. These young men that were here from the Bennett High School football team, I just wanted to come and shake every one of their hands and say thank you, because I remember it was just 12 short months ago, and they were being refused an opportunity to play in their division, and I was one of those people in the community, the many persons in the community, that was absolutely outraged by that. But like the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. has said, the measure, in talking about humanity, the measure of a man is not found in times of comfort and convenience, but it is found when there is adversity and in response to that adversity, when there's controversy especially. And these young men were phenomenal. I'm so proud of them. I'm here to talk about something I noticed as a founder of a social enterprise consulting company, Covington Associates Consulting. I also wear other hats in the community, including special projects facilitator at the We Are Women Warriors organization, also community outreach co-lead for the Moms Demand Action for Gun Safety in America, which is part of the Everytown for Gun Safety organization started by Mayor Michael Bloomberg and a former mayor of the state of Massachusetts. I'm talking in terms of resources and persons coming and being in different locations, because solutions sometimes happen that way. The solution that I realized needed to happen, I realized because of research that I was doing. I will be enrolling at State University of New York at Buffalo, UB, come January, and I will be studying initially urban and public policy studies, but I will be transferring into where I really truly know, I really truly hope to make a difference, and that is in urban planning and in making neighborhoods better, more improved, more inclusive, more equitable, and more happier, healthier, safer places for the residents who have long lived there, including my community, which obviously is the Black and African American community. But we have here, when we look at student success rates in terms of what's been mentioned, what reading and math performance and test performances at grade level, there's a story that those students are telling us. What are we hearing? Are we hearing them correctly? What are we doing? Are we doing correctly? Something I came up with, and through my research in gun violence, I found that there's a need to reach into the cracks and those crevices where we're losing just too many students. We're losing too many of them. And they're throwing in the towel way before they should. And sometimes throwing in the towel has lethal consequences, because they're doing more than just throwing in the towel and giving up on themselves. They're giving up on life. So I prepared this handout. It's called Youth Opportunity Buffalo, or Yo Buffalo for short. I will be coming back because this initiative is in program design mode, and I'm taking my company, Covington Associates Consulting, along with me and with my confidence in something and someone greater and more powerful than any of us that's walking this earth right now. And we're going to come up with how we need to reach and best get and reclaim back those students that want to throw in the towel or have thrown in the towel. I thank you for your time. Madam Superintendent, thank you for the job that you are doing. I have the utmost confidence you not only mean well for this district, you want better for our students, and I thank you for that.
Thank you, Ms. Sherrill. Our next speaker is Ed Spidell, parent, regarding community service.
Hello. Before I talk about my subject, I want to address the transportation issue. This board and the district has a responsibility to all students to get to school, not 440 families that don't agree with this. You have the responsibility to get all the students to school. That should be your first and most important responsibility. Secondly, almost every argument that was said, we could work with, we could fix, we could solve, but we have trouble solving the transportation problem. We have not been able to get our kids to school. Thank you. South Park, class of '87, Superintendent. Okay, I'm gonna always say that from now on. I want to talk about people who volunteer and serve their communities. Many of the people in this room tonight do that for a living. First, I wanted to thank everyone who volunteers, parents, students, and other community members, board members. You know, $15,000 doesn't mean you get paid. You do a lot of other things, so thank you. And a special thank you to Kim Hernandez. I was hoping she'd be here tonight, because Kim, oh, she is. Everybody, please give a round of applause for Kim Hernandez. Kim Hernandez never says no when it comes to helping a family. So remember, we need more Kim Hernandez's in our community. Today I'm here to thank the spouses, you know, our loved ones that are at home. When we're out in public doing the work we do, and you guys are on the board, our husbands, our wives, our significant others are at home, our children. Without the spouse's support, we would not be able to do what we do, and we wouldn't be able to serve our communities. Many times people said to me, thank you, Mr. Speidel, thank you for everything you do. Well, I have a secret to tell everyone today. You're thanking the wrong person. You shouldn't be thanking Edward Speidel. You should be thanking my wife. Some people know her as Amy Safransky, and some people know her as Amy Speidel. She's the true hero here. Amy makes everything possible for me. When I'm out helping someone at the meetings, Amy's at home raising our children. She's helping them with homework. She's feeding them. We have 2 kids with autism. She works with them daily. A third son who has anxiety so bad he barely leaves his bedroom. Our senior college student would spend 3 years in high school with major knee surgery. Amy got her through high school. All the doctor's appointments, all the other things. So when you go home tonight, make sure you thank your spouse. Tell them it's important that you are very willing to give up our time. Amy, I love you, and I want you to know you're the reason this works. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speidel. Our next speaker is Ina Ferguson, Buffalo Community PTA, regarding pick a reading partner and code of conduct.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay. That's better? Hi. I just want to, I'm here with my partner in crime, partner in moving things forward, May. May Bynum. So we are here, everyone has a sheet about the pick a reading partner. The Buffalo Community PTA is having this for January 21st. It's kicked off at Delvin Grider. On the bottom, you see all our sponsors that's helped us. And thank you to Buffalo Public Schools and the Parent Research, Office of Parent Engagement as well, and other people. But my thing I want to say, May has a fact finder, and I must speak on it real quick because I, and with others throughout this community, worked on the code of conduct for this Buffalo Public Schools. And it's a model across the country. And my ask, and I still ask for it to be actively used throughout the district in every school. Every single school must follow the code of conduct and held accountable from principals all the way down to parents. Everybody is accountable with the code of conduct. Also, we have worked on this for a long time. The fact finder is, yes, there is going to be some suspensions for our children. There's not suspensions not on the bill that we are still working on that's not not even on the floor, they're still working on it, with Citizen Action and AQE. We have some board members that's working on it, and people from the Buffalo Community PTA, members, families, and children that are working on this together. So those are the facts that we know about it. I just ask that the code of conduct that we have now, please be implemented throughout all the schools and hold everybody accountable to it. And May?
I was going to speak to this, the reading program. This is to build relationships with, seniors, everybody, the one-on-one, and to build confidence, within our students and parents and whoever they, we looking at senior citizens, everyone involved to build relationships.
Thank you. And you can read to anyone, an animal, stuffed animal, dog, cat. You can read to the blinds. But we just asking for 20 minutes a day, and it's a competition, all ages from pre-K to 12th grade. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ferguson.
I don't know who glasses these is, but somebody leave their glasses. I'm gonna leave them up there on the podium. Somebody's glasses.
Thank you. We'll find them. They're yours. Okay. We'll take care of them. And then I want to call up Ms. Jessica Bauer-Walker, parent, regarding solutions, not suspensions. Bauer-Walker, you are speaking, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Good evening, Board of Education members and Superintendent Williams. First of all, I just want to say I want to recognize that we are making some positive progress on suspensions. What I think is really important to recognize is that we have experience too as parents and students, and it's important for us to advocate and speak to what our truth is. So in that spirit, we have been conducting an interdisciplinary research project, working with advocates, attorneys, parents, students, folks that have deep expertise in things like restorative practices, and we put together a research paper and presented it to the district with what our analysis is, a history, an analysis, and positive holistic solutions for suspensions and working towards reducing and eliminating exclusionary disciplinary practices in Buffalo Public Schools. We love Buffalo Public Schools. We are here in a spirit of peace and love tonight. We are bringing students. We are leaving our own families at home. We're here to work towards positive change. So when you hear us advocating and lifting up some of the things that are happening, it's not to attack Buffalo Public Schools. We want to be part of a solution. So I want to be on the record saying that so we can all bring our data to the table and start having conversations about solutions and an urgent action plan, because what we're experiencing right now, there's a lot of hurt and pain that we're dealing with. The things that our students are talking about, what they're going through, I've experienced with my own child and families. These are hurtful things that we need to talk about and listen to what our students have to say. So I'm asking our students to lift up a couple points that they feel are important to them and that are in the paper. And we've also provided a hard copy, and the public can find this paper available at nyclu.org/Buffalo School Suspensions. We've partnered with the New York Civil Liberties Union. This is a civil rights issue, and we're asking the public, the Board of Education, and the superintendent to consider these recommendations. So first, we want to just recognize suspension. We know that it doesn't correct behavior or improve attendance, academic performance, or other indicators of student success. Instead, puts both students and families in dangerous and compromising situations on a school, family, and community level.
Ms. Bauer-Walker, we have you down as the speaker, so we'd like to continue to move forward with that if at all possible.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
We have you down as the speaker. We'd like to move forward with that if at all possible, because we want to make sure that we afford the same rules for everybody.
Okay, I'm affording some of my time to the students because they're not comfortable. We're working on amplifying student voice. They have been here for 2 hours waiting, so I'm giving them some of my time to be able to amplify student voice. That's what our job is as parents and advocates.
Parents/caregivers, students, and community partners must be full partners to co-produce a whole school, whole community, whole child approach to ensure that students stay in school and obtain the support they need when they exhibit signs of mental, emotional, and behavioral distress. And I would also like to meet with the student board member.
In its daily suspension practices, Buffalo Public School is consistently violating the New York State law education, as well as its own policies related to safety and health, including the Code of Conduct Wellness policy.
Too many students in Buffalo Public School are suspended for nonviolent behaviors, including subjects categories such as insubordination and disrespect. Misbehavior should never cost a student their right for education. Suspension is a practice that must be used only when other options are being eliminated.
Students classified as economically disadvantaged were suspended at 2.5 times the rate of non-economically disadvantaged students, and black students were suspended at 2.5 times the rate of their white peers.
Thank you very much for making the accommodation for our students to speak, and Dr. Ver, thank you for your email reply today too. I look forward to a continued dialogue. Thank you.
So we would have two requests. One is that we would appreciate copies of what the students are reading from because we want to be sure we understand. And the second is I want to thank our students for speaking to the Board of Education because I meant what I said. Students are very central to our mission. So that's part of why we wanted to make sure that you speak. We are always here to hear you, absolutely. We do want to make sure that we afford equity in the speakers list too, but you are always welcome to speak to us because these are your schools as well. Mr. Hurd, you have a comment.
I'm happy to provide the students' names, and the things that they were reading were directly from the white paper that we just gave you a copy of.
I would just like to make a motion to the board that normally that the speakers have to sign up on the list, but since we have other students look like they have a comment, something to read, that we just listen out for the rest of the students also.
I think it's important that we listen to all of our students. So, Mr. Hurd, we can discuss this as we move into our business meeting. Thank you very much. Mr. Spidell, you are here to give us a DPCC annual recap. Thank you for your patience.
Again, thank you. I want to get an update on what I've accomplished so far this year with DPCC. So far, we've had 4 monthly meetings. We've talked about transportation, security, and safety. We had a presentation on our new metal detector presentation. The company came in, set it up. People were able to go through the machine, see how it works. The school bus company wants to put the cameras on the school bus for the red lights. They gave a beautiful presentation. We facilitated a Da Vinci forum so that any parent who wanted to come, we would talk about the move and some options. Transportation Sunrise Committee. I think I pretty much spoke on that a few minutes ago. I just wanted to add that I know people are concerned that it's going to affect them, but please be considerate of the children and the families who don't get their kids home in a timely fashion. I've been an active member of Alternative Ed Committee. We haven't met in a while, but we were meeting. I've been to every transportation meeting since July. I've actively been there. Some of these ideas have come from me and other people at the meeting. I've attended Say Yes Operating Committee meetings every 3 weeks with Dr. Caresses, wherever he went, and Buffalo PTO members there. I was at the Say Yes breakfast. Many of you attended that. I've actually had private meetings with the Say Yes president, trying to move our agenda forward for our students. I was at the State of the Schools at City Honors, one of the coolest events I've attended this year. In December, I attended 2 meetings for the parent engagement where we were going to work on getting parents to. That was interesting, that was fun. Spent the 7th and 9th there. I attend my SBMT meetings for South Park High School in Olmsted, and I would attend any meeting from any school that gives me an invitation. I attended this week the District Committee of Stakeholder meeting, which some of you were on. I'm on the Parent, Family, and Community Engagement Summit planning meeting. We're planning a great parent summit this year, and hopefully the superintendent will be leading our parade if they haven't told her. I watch all board sessions. I mean, I'm at home watching you guys. I listen. I take that information from your sessions back to my meetings, and I let everybody know what's going on. I attend every board meeting. I speak at every board meeting. I attend parent congress meetings. I attend parent congress meetings with the superintendent. The meetings with the superintendent have resulted in progress on school safety, the maintenance of our buildings, progress surrounding suspensions. We have made progress. It has been a little slow, but we have made progress, and the superintendent is willing to continue that work. Let me see. DPCC now has a special ed subcommittee. DPC led the way, I led the way, to get CSC chairs back into the building. So our CSC chairs are back in the building, helping our families. And everybody I've talked to so far said that's a positive thing. I'm looking at having Autism Awareness Month. Me and the superintendent talked about that, April, doing something special for our children with autism. At School 366, I got a phone call that they weren't getting hot meals. 2 phone calls, and they got equipment delivered to their school, and they got hot meals. So I helped 300 to 400 students with 2 phone calls. 64 has had a bus 35 times this year, a minimum of 1 bus or more, late by an hour to 2 hours. So think about that. At the time that when I first brought this up, 60% of the time, those 50 kids on that bus did not go home on time. And they have 1 to 3 buses a day that are affected by that. That's why it's our responsibility to make everyone whole on this matter. By attending transportation meetings, David Hill talked about this, we have over 1,500 families. January 3rd, will be getting paid to drive their kids to school. We talked about 3 bell times. I helped families from 3 schools that the schools weren't opening a half an hour early. I facilitated a conversation with the principals, and they have solved the problem. Many families I've helped with bus problems. I just gave you the biggest ones today. I'd like to thank the staff and the principals and the teachers. When I call and I have a problem, they work with me graciously, and we usually solve the problem pretty easily. I helped a student at a school who had a confrontation with a cafeteria worker. I advocated for both of them. I advocated for training for the adult. I advocated for the child not to be suspended. The principal went to the house, found out they were short on food, bought them food. 156 now has a food pantry they didn't have before this incident. I got the kid put on a list at UB. He had one of his best Christmases of his life. That's what we do. We solve people's problems. I wish the boys were here, the young men were here. I wanted to thank Bennett High for the football game. I did attend the football game in Syracuse. The kids were well coached, well disciplined, well behaved, and great athletes. Now I'm going to challenge the Bennett Tigers because they're the second ones to win the state title. South Park Sparks won the first title. I'm going to challenge them to repeat or be the first one to win 2 titles because the Sparks, we were first. And last but not least, I'd like to say I'm willing to work with anybody, any board member, any teacher, any principal, any family that is willing to come to the table and work on solutions. I'm here for you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Spidel.
Thank Amy, not me.
Thank
She
you,
cried.
Amy, as well.
She cried. Thank you.
Now I'll turn it over to Madam Superintendent for her response.
Well, I want to begin by thanking all of our speakers tonight and for being patient tonight, understanding that, you know, we had a very momentous, historic, and special presentation. We certainly wanted to lift up because all of our young men that participated in the football sport for the Bennett Tigers and our coaches and our teachers and our principal, I mean, so much went into that, and all of the adversity that they experienced this year, we felt it was really important that we set aside some time to really recognize them. So I thank all of our speakers tonight for being a little patient. I know it was a little unusual that we run a little bit behind time, but I want to thank you for that. So I'll start with Ms. Meadows. You know, you shared something tonight that, you know, really touched my heart when I hear about a situation where a student may have been falsely accused of doing something. You know, there's sadness in both what the little girl did and in what he experienced. And so what I want to do is I want to ask Chief Jesnowski to reach out to the principal at School 93 to find out more about that situation and how we can support both of those children and families. You mentioned about residency, and I can share with you, I don't mind sharing with you that from the teacher ranks right now, we have done an assessment and 31% of Buffalo Teacher Federation teachers do reside in the city. That's the percentage that resides in the city at this point, 31%. Next, Miss Irene, you shared some heartfelt things tonight regarding the Native American program over at School 19. I know that you've been here before and you shared you'll be back, you know, again. I do want to share with you, though, that all of our federal grants don't necessarily have a department that oversees them. I'm told that we did recently place a cultural resource specialist at the Native American School number 19. I know that the department is looking at the possibility of hiring a supervisor, which would be an administrative position, a decision-making person that would oversee that program. I do ask, you know, that you work along with the multilingual department and continue to share your needs, and we're going to work with you to get, you know, get the program where the program needs to be. But, you know, it can't happen overnight, and as I know you're aware, right now, you know, the position of assistant superintendent of multilingual is a position that has been vacant for a little while. And so I ask that, you know, you continue to work with that department, and we will work with you to see what all you need and to try to get you what you need, because I believe you're advocating for the children that really could benefit from a strong and robust program, and that's what we want. Mr. Fields, you've asked the question of what percentage of our children can graduate or have graduated college and career ready. And I say to you that the children in the Buffalo Public Schools have to meet the same graduation requirements that students across New York State do. We don't get a waiver, we don't get a pass. They take New York State Regents exams, which are aligned to college and career ready standards, and it's only when they pass those exams. Now, I know over the last 2 years we've had some waivers, but it's nothing that only Buffalo got. Across the state, because we were remote and we were hybrid, all schools in New York State got that. And I shared some data at the last meeting that informed, I hope, the public that, Buffalo Public Schools was not at the bottom of the barrel. We outscored many charter schools, Catholic schools, and other public schools and districts, Rochester, Syracuse. Now, that does not excuse the fact that I expect 100% of our children reading by the end of third grade. I want the same thing you want, the same thing. And I hope what you're beginning to see from these meetings, from our committee meetings, is that we're serious about it. We put our data up, we don't hide behind the data is what it is. We acknowledge that, and we are working hard regarding that. And, I always say for myself, being from Buffalo, being a native of Buffalo, going through Buffalo Public Schools, working for Buffalo Public Schools for many years, there's no hiding. Because when I'm at Wegmans, when I'm at Tops, when I'm at the hair salon, and I'm around, I'm a part of this community. And so when I say that I'm serious about something, people hold me accountable for that. I mean that. I'm not playing about it. I'm very serious about it. So, as I shared, I invite folks, I link arms with people that say, I've got some concerns, but I've also got some recommendations, and let's work together on that. So I'm all about it. I encourage us to sit down and meet together and see how we can continue to get stronger, because that's what I want. Ms. Hall, I want to thank you for recognizing our esteemed Dr. Harris-Tigg and all of the work that she did. And I know that Chief Bullock, is here tonight, her legacy, and I know that it did her heart warm to hear about the impact that she had on you as a student of hers from Buffalo State College. She did so much, and she's so worthy of that, and I want to thank you for doing that. I was excited to hear you mention WASED. I mean, that got me excited, and I heard your son get excited about it too. So, I mean, that's what it's all about. And the parent engagement professional development that happened this past week and the week before, I've heard so many good things about that professional development. I wish Dr. Reynolds were here tonight to hear just how successful and how excited it got parents and teachers. I think everybody learned a lot from it and will be better from it, and I envision that it's something we're going to have to keep going, because I've heard great things about that professional development. Thank you always for your comments. They're very much appreciated. Ms. Stevens, you shared some data with us about some feelings regarding the three-bell schedule, and I just want to share that it wasn't necessarily just the district that came out with that, but there was a diverse committee of stakeholders that came together in July, I believe, and they had lots of robust and rigorous meetings. We put out surveys, we even translated surveys and put it out again, and we listen to what it is our public and constituents share that they want. That's what the strategic plan is about. It's a vision that came about from the public, from the community, and what we heard overwhelmingly from thousands of parents is that they want their children to have equitable opportunities in schools to be successful. They want their children to have the opportunity to participate in after school and modified sports, and to not be on buses for extended periods of time. And so, I certainly invite you to become a part of that committee. The seat is open. to become a part of it and to hear maybe from even more parents what it is they're saying is important to them about why it's necessary for the 3-bell schedule. Ms. Sherrill, thank you so much for your inspirational talk about the Youth Opportunity Buffalo, and thank you for recognizing and advocating for our scholar athletes. Congratulations on enrolling in UB. You know, there probably will be positions with the Buffalo Public Schools that you should think about applying to after you've completed your studies at UB, or I think you mentioned urban affairs. I agree with you in sharing that test scores certainly tell a story. You know, I'm a big proponent of that. They do tell a story. You know, we have to read, we have to comprehend, and we have to really look at what that story is. So I completely agree with you. I'm going to ask Dr. Reynolds to get in touch with you. I haven't had a chance to go through what it is you shared tonight, but I will ask Dr. Reynolds to get in touch with you. She's been going out and meeting with groups that would like to partner with the district so that they can understand kind of what the strategic plan is, where we're going, and to see how their work is going to help support us meeting the goals that are set in the plan. President Spidell, I want to just echo your thank yous to family members. You know, it was a little more than 3 years ago that, you know, I lost my spouse. And, you know, I am in a space where I don't take things or people for granted anymore. And so I appreciate that you took time tonight to acknowledge just how important, you know, it is to acknowledge family members who really, without them, you know, agreeing to share you with us and other leaders, board members and other parent leaders and administrators who are here even tonight. You know, we recognize that this is time that you're away from your children and your spouses, and I want to echo and just say thank you to all of the family members out there that share their loved ones with this school district as we work on behalf of 31,000 children and trying to get them everything that they need. So thank you, and thank Ms. Kim Hernandez for all of her work. I remember meetings where Ms. Hernandez would be driving in her car and still participating in meetings to advocate on behalf of families. So I certainly want to thank Ms. Hernandez for all that she does, and all of our parent Congress leads. I want to thank all of them. Ms. Ferguson and Ms. Bynum, always working hard, always on the job. I have my purple t-shirt too, and every time I wear my purple t-shirt, I think about, you know, the work that you do. I want to thank you, and I want to lift up that PARP is having a kickoff event on Saturday, January 21st, noon until 2 at the Delavan Grider Center. So I'm sure that this will be widely shared. We'll get information out to support it because we want as many of our families and parents to come out and participate, because it's really all about encouraging reading. That's important. This year, during our winter break, we don't want to experience any more learning loss. And so our chief academic officer has prepared packets, reading packets, for our little ones, and we are working with our families to encourage them to have these packets completed. Just 15 or 20 minutes a day. That's all we're asking for. So we certainly partner with you on that. Ms. Bauer Walker, certainly I want to, you know, I'm pleased that you acknowledge that our suspensions are in fact decreasing. It's a process. I would be more concerned if they were going in the other direction, but it appears that they are decreasing. We heard that tonight, long-term as well as short-term, and I appreciate that you certainly acknowledge that. I know that, you know, there's been a lot of work that has gone into putting together a research-based white paper that you shared with all of us. I have not had an opportunity yet to go through it as closely as I would like, but again, you know, I want to say that, you know, for the young people that come here, there's so many ways to advocate and to be involved, and this is just one. And we heard from our student rep tonight that, you know, there's Inner High, and that all of our high schools participate in Inner High. And there's always the opportunity. It's not difficult if they go to the school counselor and let them know, I'd like to be a part of Inner High. I believe that, you know, we would do everything we could to help that to happen. And it really is a group of young people that are well respected. They have intellectual discussions about how to better this district. And so I would encourage the young people that, you know, you bring out to some of our board meetings to please get involved with Inner High. That's just another way that they can activate voice. That's goal number 4 in our strategic plan. We're serious about student voice too, and activating that. I've been out on tours, and again, I went back out into the community, and at several of the sites that I went to, there were young people who were there, who were able to access me. We were able to conversate. You brought some students to McKinley, and we were able to have a discussion, and I appreciate that. In addition to that, you've invited me to speak with a group of your students, I believe in January, which I accepted wholeheartedly. I'm very interested in hearing from the students. So I just want you to know that there are multiple ways that students are able to reach, if it's my ear or board members' ears, that they're really activating and trying to get their message across. There are many ways that they can do that, and we encourage it, and we support them doing it. But, you know, it's not necessary always for them to do it this way. There are so many ways where we can sit down and I can hear from them and they can hear from me, and it can be much more engaging and a little more intimate. But thank you for bringing them tonight. President Spidell, I don't know how you do everything you do. You know, I was watching you as you were flipping those yellow pages, page after page after page after page of the work that you have been engaged in since July. My goodness, I mean, you've been busy. You've been busy. The DPCC is doing very, very, very good work. I'm listening to all of the forums, the meetings, the committees that you've participated in, the board sessions, watching the committee work sessions, even taking a bus trip. Even though you're a South Park Spark, you sure got on that Bennett Tiger bus. And, you know, you cheered, and we had a great time. You were right there participating in parent congress meetings, every meeting. I don't know how you do it all, but I certainly want to thank Mrs. Spidell for sharing you with us. We appreciate it, and the children, and your children. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With that, we're going to move to the business portion of our meeting. I'd like to start by requesting a motion to accept the minutes from the previous meeting. Thank you, Dr. Evans-Brown, and a second from Board Member Scott. All in favor, signify with aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. We accept the November 16th, 2022 minutes. We're going to move to the committee reports portion of our agenda. Do know it's the end of the year, so everybody has been very busy. It is also 8:25, so I'd like to make sure that we adhere to being brief but comprehensive. So with that, I'd like to start with the previous committee colleagues. I will just recap the Executive Affairs Committee session, and then I'll move around to the table. So we met and we discussed, let me pull up the agenda. I apologize. I said be brief, and here I am not being brief. Yeah, I'm just having a problem with my agenda. Here we go. Okay. So Executive Affairs, we met. We had a negotiations update that was very comprehensive and is available to the public on board docs. With that, I'd like to move to Ms. Woods and her update for finance and operations.
My committee report is that we had a bunch of meetings. I had a meeting at Hutch Tech on safety for the, with a really good turnout, a lot of people working to address some issues, safety concerns from parents there. That was November 29th. Then we had the Say Yes fundraising breakfast, which I attended and made a $250 donation. I do support Say Yes, helping our kids. December 2nd, the adult education put on Quilts for Valor, and they honored 20 veterans, including my father, World War II vet, and myself, and we were presented beautiful handmade quilts from this international foundation. It was a beautiful ceremony. December 9th, Hutch Tech had their junior ROTC dining out, and there were over 250 people there, parents, community groups, and it was just a beautiful event to see our soldiers of the future being honored and moving up and being inspired. We're in a dangerous situation right now. Our children could be going to war, and I just love honoring those students and their skills, their leadership. December 12th and 19th, we had capital budget meetings. We're trying very hard to address keeping our students. There is such a demand for the excellent programs that Buffalo Public Schools has developed. We have like 1,500 students vying for 150 seats. So we're doing everything we can to make more space for our students to enjoy our excellent programs. I had a finance committee meeting December 7th, and we addressed the Da Vinci move, the capital project for that, and the all-high capital project. So capital projects are very high on our agenda. And let's see, basically every day there's something that we're doing relating to bettering our schools. I had the pleasure of meeting with our chief financial officer yesterday, meeting his financial team, and they are on the ball and getting ready to present a wonderful budget. So I thank you, Mr. Barnes, for your presentation. That's my report.
Thank you, Ms. Woods. I appreciate that. I'd like to go to Dr. Evans Brown for the report for student achievement.
Okay, thank you. Hello? Can you hear me? Okay. So the Student Achievement Board session held on December 14th included a presentation from Chief Ann Bonicelli, and it was associated with the 5 goals achieved by 2025, which is in line with the superintendent's goals. Chief Ann Bonicelli presented a portfolio of dual credit courses offered at BPS for our students. Some of them are taught by college-approved BPS teachers, aligned to a particular college course with college-approved syllabi and rigorous content, and monitored for academic rigor. We were excited to hear about the proliferation of courses that our students can take toward a credit in high school and or high school graduation and or college credits. They will have college credits if they successfully complete the course. And currently, all the dual credit offerings are free to BPS students. They're generally transferable to other colleges or universities once they finish high school. They're available to 11th and 12th grade students for the exception of AP Language and Composition, which is a 10th grade course.
So some of the college partners include Alfred College, Arizona State College, which is pretty awesome, Buffalo State College, Erie Community College, Hilbert College, Niagara University. And then what was interesting as well, Hilbert, I don't want to forget about Hilbert College. Some of the other activities or college credits that students can enroll in include our special ed students, so that they could also take carpentry 1, 2, and 3, electrical, plumbing, welding, auto, precision machinery, anatomy and physiology. I was excited about that one. AP computer science principles, and so on. So it was a robust presentation, and the board was really excited about it because it went in depth, and I didn't know the depth of what we offered our young people. So that was the student achievement portion. Then I also attended a disproportionality work group session under the leadership of Dr. Fatima Morel and her team. They knocked it out of the park again. One of the keynote speaker was Dr. Monique Colston. Terrence Hurd, board member Terrence Hurd was there as well, and he could speak further on it. But I'll just say that when we talk about suspensions and we talk about, equity and disparity, the CLR department is really critical in this area. Dr. Culverson, she was the person that did a few books, and one that stood out for me was Push Out. And the focus is on, the black girls in our schools who are adultified, for example. Some of our cultures are different from others, and so when we roll our eyes and shake our necks and stuff, that don't mean that we're trying to be sassy. That's just part of the culture. For example, when we talk about boys, I raised black boys, and I think boys in general are just busy. They just don't sit well or sit long without being fidgety or whatever. And I used to get calls, during my tenure raising them about it. So we have to do things differently. And again, our boys are big. I have one of my sons is 6'5", and so when he was 12, people thought he was 15. But the point is that we have to learn cultures, not be afraid of our children, right? And be able to educate them despite their whatevers. So I thought this was a good tenet. I think more disproportionality summits need to happen in this district. As we know, there's a contrast when we talk about the 80% Caucasian teacher workforce compared to the 80% student enrollment who are children of color. Thank you.
Please go ahead, Mr. Scott. You look ready to go for your committee report.
Thank you, Dr. Rivera. So before I get into my committee update, I just need to take the time to give a big shout out to our Student Support Services leadership team, who worked swiftly to have gifts collected and delivered to about 750 of our McKinney-Vento students in less than a week's time. That's remarkable, a remarkable feat. Thank you to the other board members who joined me in donations, and following Mr. Spidell's lead, I have to give a shout out to my wife who did the shopping for me, and my mother who also provided a donation for what we purchased and delivered. And cabinet level staff, I know you also made significant donations, so thank you. And lastly, thank you to our great partner, Say Yes, for donating gift cards to all of our high school McKinney-Vento students. We had our Educational Support Committee with a central registration update last week. Just some data that we learned. Last year we had 6,546 new students that came into the district mid-year. This year we're already at 4,256, and it's not even January. So we're ahead of the pace from last year. In regards to charter schools, last year 1,132 applied to BPS from charters, 60% enrolled. This year we're already at 1,029 that have applied, 59% that have enrolled. For last year, of the 667 students that enrolled, over 15% had an active IEP, 7% were identified as limited English proficiency, over 50% of students were Black, 21% were Hispanic. We received some data on city honors, still work to do with increasing the amount of Black students that are at city honors. The good news there is for 5th grade this year, 79 out of the 92 students that are enrolled came from Buffalo Public Schools. Just to wrap this up, for the coming school year, the lotteries and rankings are starting, and placement letters are expected to hit mailboxes in March or April. Lastly, I attended the annual Say Yes breakfast to support their endowment campaign. Very well attended, great presentation from David Rust and some of our graduates who benefited from Say Yes Buffalo, and some that are now employed by Say Yes Buffalo gave some wonderful presentations. And then very lastly, I attended 4 Saturday Academies this past month. One of my favorite things to do in BPS, Southside Elementary, North Park on December 3rd. North Park, I think, was probably the busiest I've seen a Saturday Academy. And then last Saturday, I visited South Park High and Lovejoy Discovery. Lovejoy, just what a beautiful building that was, very welcoming environment, and after meeting the new principal there, Dr. Batchelor, I believe is the name, I'm planning to schedule a visit during a school day. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. So we'll move to general board member updates, but I'm going to take a page out of Mr. Spidell's book and remember that we all have families who are waiting for us as well. So I'd like to start off with Mr. Hurd and your update.
Thank you. Thank you again. Well, I'd like to start off, I received a lot of invitations to visit a lot of schools. So I did visit a charter school for applied technologies, with the principal there being Sue Jesuits. That was a very enlightening visit, and to see some of the programs that they offer there. And it was an elementary school that I visited, and looked at their arts programs there. I'd like to move on to our state championships in Syracuse that we went to, a number of us, including Superintendent Dr. Tanja Williams, took a bus ride up to Syracuse for the state championships, and also I stayed in chaperone overnight and for a couple of games there in Syracuse. And we also had other board members that attended, Kathy Emmons Brown, Sharon Belton Cotman, rented a bus actually for a lot of our administration staff and everybody and families that went there. So it was very nice to get more people there in the efforts of our board. Also, another one of the things that we did this was we met with M&T Bank and with the branch manager over at the William Emsley YMCA branch is Kelly Dockery and Dawn Griffin. And we're going to have another conversation this month after Christmas about putting a program together for banking, credit, and savings for our children in the schools. I spoke with the superintendent about this proposal. She was very ecstatic about, elated about having this program and moving forward with it. So we're going to have another meeting and have the district meet with those ladies to see what type of programs, and we have other banks that's interested also to helping our kids, with their savings and credit and moving forward. Also, we met with the athletic committee. I'm not going to go into too much detail about everything that we spoke about, but one of the big things with the modified sports program, that we already unveiled 9 programs with the modified sports, and it's just amazing, the turnout we got with our children. And one of the teams I'd like to just promote right now is the girls flag football team over at the Harvey Austin School that went undefeated, and we did receive invitations about them going to Dallas for the national championships. So that program is running and very well, and there's a lot of work to do with it, so we're going to move forward. Another thing that we talked about with the modified sports program, and it's much needed here in the Buffalo schools. All suburban schools have this, and they have 1 and 2 of them. I go out to the Park School and work with the kids over there and seeing some of the things they do with it. It's a basketball shooting machine, and we believe that we should have at least 2 in each of our high schools here in the city of Buffalo. So I would like to bring that to the board now and possibly in committee later just to see what that details and the cost of that. But we're looking at state championships for our children. One thing that'll help our girls and our boys get college scholarships will be this basketball shooting machine. So let's just take a dive into that, and I'll bring it up more in the future and see how we can try to bring that in fruition. We also met with the Bennett Tiger Football Parade Committee, which tomorrow everybody come out and celebrate our football team as we caravan from Bennett High School to City Hall and have reflections. And one thing we talked about, this is for the kids, so we want to make sure the kids speak and be heard. And this parade is not just about, Bennett High School. This is about the city of Buffalo, Erie County, Western New York, because these kids did things that was phenomenal. And you heard them all speak this evening about overcoming all odds and challenges. And it really helps me in my life to overcome challenges, because no matter what's being placed against you, you can succeed. You can do all things. Let's go to another place that we went to was met the superintendent, Dr. Brophy, as we met over about Hilbert College and our AP courses here that we offer here in the city of Buffalo, and how this is the only college that adopted dual enrollment program through the Liberty Partnership apprenticeship program. So it's some things that we're rolling out with Hilbert, and we had the largest number of children now doing that dual enrollment program with Hilbert College. So that's an amazing task just to accomplish it in a couple of years. And then we go to Terry Ann Howard. I sent the message out today to the superintendent and also over to Dr. Will Caresi, our chief of staff, about Hilbert College, and they're interested in doing a dual enrollment program also. So that's outstanding, and see what we can put together in the future to try to, make that work for our children and for our programs. Another thing I did was I visited, once again, with the Kenmore West High School Instrumental Music Holiday Concert. They have an outstanding concert there with musical instruments as they work with their children, all the way from elementary programs to high school. I know our board member can attest to that, Larry Scott, who works out there. And I know that we're doing a wonderful job here in the city of Buffalo as we work and make progress towards, bringing musical instruments. And throughout the board meetings, I heard the parent cries, 3 years ago about what can we do to progress our kids in music. And I know the effect it had on me, because coming through the Buffalo School District and then the system that I didn't have any music. We had one music class, I remember, I believe in 3rd grade, and we didn't have any after that. And I hate that our kids suffer without being able to obtain music. So I did visit a couple of schools, and the first thing I visited with Michelle Augusta with the arts department, and we talked about what the progress that she made so far in the music department, and she's making great strides there, and some things that they want to do and work on for future. I believe they have about 20 more schools that they work with musical instruments and arts but there's a lot more that need to be done. So even at Riverside, one thing we talked about was the lighting. The lighting is out in the auditorium. So that's something that needs to be addressed if we want to put presentations on. And she also mentioned that none of our schools in the city of Buffalo applied for the Kenny Awards. So that's something that's needed, you know, that we can be able to compete and have our children recognized and our staff recognized for that type of work. Another school that I visited was the Buffalo Elementary School for Technology, where the principal is Wendy Ermeling. This school number 6, I believe, yes, is I believe is our new bilingual school here in the city of Buffalo. We need to really recognize and see the work that's being done over there. About half of the population is Spanish speaking, the other half is English speaking. So, so she said they need more help over here, but they're doing a wonderful job. And one of the things that Principal Everling talked about was the stage presence, about lighting and the arts and things that they need in that facility there also. Another school I visited was number 33, the Bilingual Center, where the principal is Lisa Levette Coyle. And she also expressed the need for the arts programs there and what they can do about more instructional teachers here at that facility. I visited the Harvey Austin School with Principal Cameron Hall, number 97, and they're doing a wonderful job there, but he also would like to see what we can do about progressing the art program. And we also talked about the modified sports program that's being slided for one of the places for the modified sports program due to the lottage of fields that's next to the school that can be used for that purpose. And that also applies for school number 6, the Buffalo Elementary School of Technology. One of the last schools that I visited was the Frederick Law Olmsted School with Principal Marquita Bryant, and she requested they have a full-time instrumental teacher. They don't have a full-time teacher at that school, and they're a feeder school to a lot of our other schools, school number 156, 195, and Performing Arts. And they have a wonderful concert that I attended, the winter concert. It was great. If you missed it, I expect next year just to put that on your calendar to see the work that they're doing with our musical arts and instruments. Met with Mr. Cecil Von Stepp. He's a musician that works here in the district, in the city, here in our district in Buffalo Public Schools. But they also want to put together some programs that they can teach children, possibly on the Saturday academies or after school music and how to use music. He comes and plays with Tahaka and their group sometimes. I remember last February through African American History Month, they came and played here before the board. So if you remember them, let's try to put together and see what we can do and work with them and how we can bless that. Just going to finish off with some of the other concerns that they have with the Music and Arts program is the lighting in our buildings, building the organizational chart for the arts department, field trips and cultural centers. So they'll have field trips so that children actually see the variety of things they can have in culture and what they can do and what they can learn. Also having a central location for their program, clothing, dance, theater classes, and once again, Saturday Academy and a band. We also spoke with the NAACP, went to the NAACP meeting, and we talked about what can they do in 2023 to work with the district. So that's some things that we can also bring up to committee and work with the superintendent. This Thanksgiving, we're working with Friends for a Better Buffalo. We was able to give out 200 Thanksgiving dinners to our families and also to our football team, state championship teams and their families. And through the Christmas celebration, we were also able to give out 100 more dinners for those families of need with food. We were able to collect some toys and also some clothes. And the BTF gave a lot of food that they did a drive for.
Can we finish up and move on, so, because I still have 2 more members that need to update.
Okay. Last couple of things we did was finishing up would be Buffalo Black Billion, the leadership program. We gave our free suits, shirts, and ties to families that need it for jobs. And I will end it there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Cozy, your update.
Okay, so I'm going to try and keep it brief. I'm going to highlight 4 things that I have attended that were of significance. One being a follow-up meeting that our superintendent had gone to in a church on the west side. I do have the church's name, but I feel horrible reading it off. I attended this, and it was very well received as she addressed not just in English, but also had it translated into Spanish for our communities, what she is doing, our strive for 25 for 25, or what that is, her strategies. And she has a strong following within that community. So I just wanted to highlight how that was received, the text messages I had received after, and how appreciated you were. I also attended, well, it was a virtual Buffalo Parent Teacher Organization meeting. I attend these constantly. There is district staff that's there every month. This is an organization I've been involved in since before becoming a board member. So a lot of what was discussed was actually brought to the table by Ms. Stevens. But I just wanted to make sure that, folks know that Saturday mornings, I believe it's every 3rd Saturday of the month, are those meetings. They start at 9:30. If they're not virtual, they're at East High School, and everybody is welcome. I also attended just today, and in the spirit of the holiday season, one of the most, and I have kids who have been through the districts in their 30s, some 12-year-old now, but to see pre-K and kindergartners celebrate the holidays the way that School 3 put together an event today was absolutely amazing. I want to shout out the engineer who bought the Christmas decorations, who played Santa. All these pre-K and kindergartners had a breakfast, and then they went into the auditorium and they watched the original Grinch Who Stole Christmas, the cartoon that we all grew up on. And then we handed out books to these folks, thanks to Ms. Fix, who was able to coordinate books for every pre-K and kindergarten student in the building. The energy was fantastic. Board members on putting together pictures and videos and all that we took. So I just want to make sure you know about that. And the last thing that I want to say is I have been working with the Native American Parent Committee for quite a while. I know we've had some transition, but I'd just like to make sure that we get on the same page. There's a bottleneck somewhere, as I know that I've been in situations where parents are coming with the same concerns, but yet I do know from a district's point of view that we're working on things, so I would love to sit down and get this bottleneck taken care of where this grant is concerned, making sure the folks that represent this community are in place, and we really work with these folks, because this committee, they're losing numbers because it's almost that the efforts or the attention behind them is losing numbers as well. So if we uplift culturally responsible, linguistic initiatives, the Native American community could really use that type of energy that we put forth in other cultures as well. So I just want to uplift that as someone who has been a part of this, I think before I became a board member, and I just want to put that out there.
Thank you, Ms. McCosey. Ms. Cotman, your update?
I promise to be brief. I think it's important that I say this up front because I need people to be clear that the work that I'm doing on the state level, with the Big Five, with the New York State School Board Association, and nationally with the Council of Great City Schools is all related to Buffalo Public Schools issues and concerns. And so I need that to be said because it was said that I don't focus in on local issues. There's nothing that's happening nationally or statewide that Buffalo, being the second largest school district in the state, is not a part of. With that said,
I will just briefly say I've attended Bennett's planning meeting. I appreciate Mr. Lang and Mrs. Whitman for the extra work that they do to make sure that this school runs as efficiently and to the best degree that it possibly can. We had a serious meeting with the Hutch Tech community about Evergreen, their impact on our school district. In attendance was Board Member Woods, Chief of Security Barbara Lark. It was the first meeting that we had that we shared with her. David Hill, there was other staff from Hutch Tech. Our concern is that this building is within 200 feet of our school, and they are distributing needles and syringes, and somehow or another they end up on our campus. And so I intend on to continue to work that. I want to give a shout out to ASL Watson, who is handling that charge for us. I attended Saturday Academy at Bennett. I've also attended 2 capital budget meetings. I want to give a shout out again. Larry Scott did one. I'd like to do another to the McKinney-Vento staff for the work that they did. We had our first virtual meeting. It was excellent. Last Friday, Chief Academic Officer Betticelli, along with Kelly Baldo, there was Garcia and one other lady, I'm not sure of her name, I'm sorry. We had a conversation with Bryan and Stratton about expanding our relationship with them. Bryan and Stratton has a program that's called Jump Start. It is a free college credit evening program that any junior and senior can take at any of their campuses. It is independent of the work that our students will be doing, but you can earn college credits and it is transferable. And the deadline to sign up is January the 4th. So if you have students who are ambitious, who are interested in expanding their education, the deadline again is January the 4th. However, the class starts in the middle of January. How we found out about this is one of our Buffalo Public Schools graduates, Phil Jones, was hired by Bryan and Stratton and wanted to make sure that the city schools are a part of this. So I appreciate if additional information is sent out and we can see. What I'd like to ask the board in regards to this is that if we have a student that's brave enough to sit on the campus at night with adults to take a college course, that if they have transportation issues or if they need a book, because you have to buy your own book, that we would consider providing that resource for our children to help them with the equity situation. Last week, we had a very powerful meeting with Superintendent Mark Laurie. He is the superintendent of Niagara Falls School. We are collaborating together to improve situations and circumstances for our school district. One topic we discussed where we had so many similarities was our treatment by Section 6 and the New York State Physical High School Athletic Association. I am looking forward to additional meetings with Niagara Falls and other school districts that have similar concerns about how students are being treated. And finally, I was asked to read this flyer in regards to high school equivalency, diploma, and learn English classes. Buffalo Public Schools Education Department Youth Program starts at age 17 to age 21. These classes are free and enrollment is open. And if you would like to know more about that, you can reach out to Buffalo Public Schools Adult Education, phone number 716-816-4595. Again, phone number 716-816-4595. Thank you for that time, Madam President.
Thank you, Ms. Belton-Cotman. So we're going to move to accept the consent agenda. Do I have an motion to accept it prior to discussion? Thank you, Ms. Belton-Cotman. Do I have a second? Any objections? Okay. We're going to move forward. There's a few questions. So Ms. McCosey, you are up for item number 18D.
So I appreciate the funding for the McKinney-Vento students to be able to have uniforms. It looks like it's a wholesale service group that's providing this, but I'm also wondering if this is, what about the schools that don't provide uniforms? Do we have some sort of, is there some leniency within this money to be able to buy clothing in general for these students, or is it just specific to uniforms? That just threw me off a bit.
Good evening. Just to be sure I understood your question, you said is the money earmarked directly for the McKinney-Vento students?
Yeah, it's the money from wholesale service for
Right.
uniforms for McKinney-Vento
Yes.
students. But the uniforms threw me off. Is there also any type of leeway or some way that we can provide clothing in general, especially for more of our high school, students who are doing some of this couch surfing and unfortunately are in these positions that aren't uniform based within their high schools. So it's a pretty significant amount of money. So I was hoping there was some, maneuvering we can do in order to get clothing in general for our students. It's just the uniforms threw me off. So
Yeah. No, I definitely understand your question, and it's a very good question, but it does have to be earmarked for uniforms or a dress code, but I can look further into that to see if we can make some exceptions.
I mean, it's not to say that uniforms themselves, like if you get khakis or whatever,
Right.
you could still wear those. It's just, it threw me because I don't know of many high schools that are in uniform. So that's all.
Okay, definitely. Thank you.
Point is well taken, Board Member Mukuzi. I think as this committee grows, I remember Dr. Williams, before you were in your capacity as superintendent, we took a trip to Rochester. Rochester has a really beautifully stocked McKinney-Vento area office. They have coats, clothes, new things, not old things or whatever, that this will happen in Buffalo, okay, hopefully by next year, okay, because these are our neediest children, and we want to make sure that their needs are met. And so I do believe that it is the intent to grow that program per my conversation with the superintendent. So I just want to throw that out there, that the uniforms, and they can get book bags, but the uniform piece is just one. Eventually, we want to be able to have clothes for those children to walk in, brand new clothes, and get them. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So Ms. Woods, you have a question for item 16B.
That's item 11E, the Orton Gilham training.
It's 16B on my list, but I
Yes.
think we might have just a little bit of something off here.
This item, when I looked at it, it indicates that the full appropriation is $825,090, and that was a significant figure. And we also had another item earlier in the agenda for $558,000 for training, another training item for our teachers on social emotional wellness. So when I looked at these items, and they're totaling over $1 million in training and professional development for our teachers and our staff, I thought that we should ask for some further information on that, because Buffalo Public Schools never blows its own horn. It never says, hey, we're spending all this money to train our teachers to be excellent, to handle the mental and emotional issues that our students are facing, and to handle the dyslexia and other issues. So I just wanted our Chief Academic Officer to speak to what we are spending this $825,000 in training and development, and if anyone else wanted to speak on the other $558,000 that we're spending on the mental health, let's see, social MTSS, social emotional wellness training. I just thought it's time for us to say what we're doing to prepare our teachers to deal with the issues that our students are facing. We're addressing this, so you have the floor.
Thank you, Mrs. Woods. Can everyone hear me? Yes? Okay. So the item that she's referring to with the $825,000 that's actually what we've encumbered to date with IMSE, which is the vendor we selected to provide our science of reading training for Orton Gillingham, as well as for morphology training. So Orton Gillingham is a program, a methodology, in fact, that was actually designed to meet the needs of students with dyslexia, but it is also good for all students. So what we, as a district, because we believe in the science of reading, the need to explicitly and sequentially teach our students to learn to decode so that they can read grade level text and then beyond, we have adopted the Orton Gillingham method as our intervention. So we are training all of our reading teachers, all of our literacy coaches, all of our special education teachers, grades K to 8, our E&L teachers, actually we're hoping to train our E&L teachers K to 12 because we know that the students will benefit from this program, and all of our kindergarten teachers. Assuming that we are able to meet that metric in a timely fashion, we probably will be moving to add first grade to that mix as well, because we know when we teach the students up front, explicitly, systematically, and sequentially, we won't need that level of intervention as they move up through the grade levels. So Orton Gillingham is our chosen method. It is aligned with the science of reading. We've had terrific response from participants to date, and anecdotally, we're seeing progress with the students who are in that program right now. It's going to take a while to get all of those teachers trained. There's about 800 or so that are eligible for that training, and we've trained over 300 some at this point. We have cohorts coming up in the winter and the spring. We are also looking at a cohort in June and probably another cohort in August, so we can start next year off with the bulk of the teachers all prepared to initiate from September 1st. The other training that that vendor provides is morphology. So once our kids learn to decode, we want them to be able to acquire new vocabulary. So using that same Orton Gillingham type of methodology, we're going to apply it to vocabulary acquisition. So teachers in grades 3 to 6, including special education, and then E&L teachers in grades 3 to 12, and a recent addition of English teachers in grades 7 to 8, will all be participating in the morphology training. So they'll take that same multimodal methodology from Orton Gillingham and apply it to instruction for students so they can acquire knowledge of vocabulary, specifically Greek and Latin, prefixes, suffixes, roots, and base words. So they'll learn to decode, and as they move up through the grade levels, they'll acquire that academic vocabulary, and we know that that impacts comprehension. We know that that will impact their writing ability. We know that it will pretty much impact everything they do throughout the course of their lives. So we're very excited about this training, and I want to thank Mrs. Woods for giving me the opportunity to talk about it a little bit. We think it's going to be a phenomenal impact in the school system. Thank you.
Thank you. So, did you have something else? Okay. Please come forward.
I'm sorry, do you want additional information for the social emotional learning portion of it, for the training?
There is another, the other item is the $558,000 in training our teachers for, and it says MTSS, social emotional wellness training. And I know that's another big area that we need to focus on. So she's getting our L's, and I hope you would speak about what you're doing to train our teachers on this.
So I'd be happy to speak to that. So we're really excited to be able to work with our school teams because it's one of Dr. Williams' goals is to have at least 50% of our wellness teams highly effective. So with this approach, we're looking to be able to support schools having a deep dive in looking at the data, the YRBS data, all of the social emotional data, the tiered systems of support. We're looking at tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 levels, because we know during a school day, sometimes it's really difficult to pull all of the teachers out of their classrooms at the same time. So this gives them an opportunity to work a full day session, work within their own school team, as well as to collaborate with the other schools so they can get more information to be able to take back to their buildings, to be able to implement it. And this can address our student suspension concerns, our attendance concerns, and we're able to have that multi-tiered approach to be able to move our students' data in the right direction. And so we're really excited to be able to have this dedicated, uninterrupted time to be able to do that. And then they have the ability to rotate, because most teams have 5 to 10 people. Sometimes they can't all meet at one time, so they can rotate and be able to continue that work during the day. And then our district coaches go in throughout the year to continue to support what they've learned on those Saturdays. Thank you.
Thank you. That's millions of dollars well spent on making our teachers effective. Thank you both.
Thank you, Ms. Woods. And with that, that concludes the listed questions on the consent agenda, and I believe we're ready for the vote.
On the consent agenda, how do you vote, Ms. Belton-Cotman?
No exceptions.
Dr. Evans-Brown?
No exceptions.
Mr. Hurd?
I'd like to recuse myself from 11A, and no exceptions after that.
Brief explanation for the recusal?
Pardon me?
Just a brief explanation as to why you're recusing yourself?
Affiliation.
Ms. J is absent. Ms. McCosey?
No exceptions.
Mr. Scott?
No exceptions.
Ms. Woods?
No exceptions.
And President Rivera?
No exceptions.
Consent agenda passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move to the resolution that's in board docs on SUNY Charter School Institute's approval of Brick Buffalo Academy Charter School. Ms. Belton-Cotman, Mr. Scott, I believe you were both named in this resolution. Would one of you like to read it out?
Sure, thank you, Dr. Rivera. So yes, this is introduced by Ms. Belton-Cotman and myself. I have heard from other board members that they would also like to sponsor this resolution, so after I'm done reading it, we can entertain anybody else that wants to be added to this as a sponsor. Just some background information to begin. SUNY is an authorizing entity that approves charter schools in New York State. BRIC is an education network charter management organization that's based out of Newark, New Jersey. They have applied for a charter school in the state of New York to SUNY on 4 occasions. In 2018, 2019, they were forced to withdraw their applications. And in 2021, they applied for 2 charter schools here in Buffalo and were forced to withdraw in a letter that from SUNY, I'm sorry, quote, the Institute determined that the proposal was underdeveloped, preventing us from moving forward in our review process. BRIC also manages a charter school in New Jersey called Achieve Community Charter School. This charter school was put on probation by New Jersey Department of Education in 2018-19 for chronic absenteeism and poor governance. And as of at least October 6th, is still on probation, October 6th of this year. BRIC held 2 hearings with this Buffalo Board of Education in 2021 and this past fall in September. Both times we sent a letter unanimously requesting a denial of the BRIC applications to SUNY, and it was based on the following reasons. Applicants were unable to identify a single unmet need by the Buffalo City School District. 2, inability of the applicants to know and understand obligations under FAPE. 3, inability of the applicants to identify top languages spoken other than English and Spanish in our school district. 4, a failure of applicants to know and understand obligations for students with disabilities and IEPs. 5, a failure of applicants to know and understand parent and student rights under Part 154, which covers regulations for our English language learners. And 6, applicant claiming that there are very few English language learners residing in East Buffalo when a 0% of ELL students enrolled in their Achieve Charter School was referenced. On October 6th, SUNY did approve the charter application for Buffalo. Bear with me, I'm going to read the rest word for word because I want the public to understand the rationale behind this resolution. So whereas the total enrollment of the City of Buffalo resident students attending charter schools exceeds 5% at 25% for this school year, and the New York State Charter Schools Act of 1998 indicates that, quote, in a school district where the total enrollment of residing students attending charter schools in the base year is greater than 5% of the total school enrollment of the school district in the base year, granting the application would have a significant educational benefit to the students expected to attend the proposed charter, or the school district consents to such application. Whereas on the 2022 New York State assessments, the Buffalo City School District narrowed the gap in proficiency with all Buffalo charter schools to 2.2% in ELA and 2% in math, and did so with twice the percentage of students with disabilities and more than 4 times the amount of English language learners. Whereas the New York State Charter School Act requires charter schools to meet or exceed enrollment and retention targets of students with disabilities and English language learners comparable to enrollment figures of students attending public schools in the city school district, and that in the BRIC application, their hearing and approval meeting on October 6th, a plan for this requirement was not fulfilled. Whereas the SUNY Board of Trustees has not fulfilled its objective, quote, demonstrating the support of the school district in which the proposed charter school will be located and the intent to establish an ongoing relationship with such school district, end quote, as well as, quote, address comments received from the impacted community concerning the educational and programmatic needs of students, end quote, as required in the New York State Charter Schools Act. And whereas in the SUNY Board of Trustees Charter School Committee, whereby the BRIC charter application was approved, there was no discussion and determination for how, quote, granting the application would have a significant educational benefit to the students expected to attend the proposed charter or school district's consent to such application, end quote. And the letter of unanimous support from the Buffalo Board of Education to decline the application was not referenced nor included in the public agenda. Resolved, the Buffalo Board of Education requests that the Buffalo City School District take legal action against the SUNY Board of Trustees for failing to satisfy their legal obligations determined in the New York State Charter Schools Act 1998 when it approved the BRIC Buffalo Academy Charter School.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. I open the floor for discussion from board members. Yeah, we do. I missed a step. Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to accept the resolution? Thank you, Ms. Belton-Cottman. A second? Ms. McCosey? Any objections? Okay, I open for discussion. Ms. McCosey, I believe you signified. No problem. Ms. Belton-Cottman, please go ahead.
So I would like to thank Board Member Scott for his research and the work that he did on this, and the work that he's done in regards to charter schools. He's been consistent with helping us this district move forward. We are at a point where either we are going to stand strong or we're going to lay down and die. We cannot continue to turn this district over, and the time is now for us to act as a board to move forward. We may not win, but they're going to know that they were in a fight, okay? This issue is not just a Buffalo Public Schools, but it's a concern for most of the Big Five. The takeover of charter schools, the use of public dollars and for privately ran, quote, public institutions. It has to stop. And we cannot survive if this continues. SUNY should be about handling college students. And the latest move that was made, I'm concerned that it will only become worse. To the parents out there, I believe in free choice. I believe that you should have your right. However, I do not believe that Buffalo should be a sacrificial lamb and we should lose this district to charter schools as other urban school districts have throughout this country. As a result of this particular action, I am going to move forward with this through the Big Five to have a conversation with other urban districts to know what we're doing and to see if any of them are interested in signing on. Thank you, Mr. Scott, and I appreciate the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Ms. Belton-Cotman. Ms. Micosi, you have a comment?
So it seems here, and I was at least one of these presentations where I was kind of thrown by just the lack of everything necessary to come before the Board of Education in order to even be approved, but it was such a lackluster presentation that it was almost, I don't know how to put it, politically correct, but it was almost as if they just knew that they were going to be, accepted, that it was going to be passed. I was very shocked that, everybody else was at least providing what was needed. The lack of just their, in the most diverse district, I believe, in this state, that you come to the table with comments about how there's no ENL students on the east side, the way gentrification works on the west side, and how folks are being moved all over this city. It's absolutely, I just want to put out there that I'm down for the fight. You can't, in one area you don't approve it, but in Buffalo you did. So I'm really wondering what influences in Buffalo really have the ear of this group of folks. And I'm with Board Member Cotman that it's time to stand up. It's time to really take a look at, and again, I'm all about free choice, but at the same time, you have to look into the monies that are being taken from the Buffalo Public Schools students and put into these charter schools that are approved by folks who do not live in this area, who do not understand the impact that these have if they're not performing well. The fact that students are being brought back to the Buffalo Public Schools and that we are responsible for teaching what maybe wasn't presented in these schools to begin with because their numbers weren't up to par. Like, these are not just my opinions, these are actual facts that have been touted many, 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 many times, and it's almost as if no one hears it. So I, again, am ready to take this on. It's a new year, and let's get them.
Thank you. Other comments? Mr. Hurd?
Just one comment that be Buffalo, and I was there also during their meeting where they reported to the board, and they really had an incomplete package, and they couldn't supply any information to this district about stats and exactly what they were doing here in the city of Buffalo with our children. And having outside entities come into the city of Buffalo and try to understand our population and work with our children without having a background with our children, I think is hypocrisy. It's a horrible idea. It's just that we understand our children here at the Buffalo Public Schools and the families and the family needs. We have many diverse communities and which they was reluctant to even to understand, what language is spoken on the east side of Buffalo, and working with students with disabilities. And our diverse culture needs more structured education for our children. And so I will continue to work along with this board to do anything that we can to sustain the best education for our children possible with the Buffalo Public Schools, and try to divert these attempts to come into the city of Buffalo and just being a business and not a family. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? I'd like to add one, just a final one, which is that charter schools were originally designed to be incubators of education. When charter school operators not only can't provide how they're different, how they are innovative, how they will be incubators of innovative education, but additionally cannot prove how they would serve the students that they have named in their own application, is an area of concern because these are public dollars. We have a responsibility to all students and educating all students. And so I support pursuing this because it is really, really critical that we make sure that students have opportunity, but students have strong academic opportunity, and that charter schools are incubators rather than trying to either replicate or give a lesser value than already exists in the Buffalo Public Schools. Any other comments?
Please.
Mr. Scott first, Mr. Scott? I'm sorry, Mr. Scott?
So I had mentioned that there are some board members that want to be added as sponsors. So I would just like to open that up to anybody that wants to be named as a sponsor on the resolution. Do I have to motion to amend?
Anybody wishes to be a sponsor, just raise their hand so I can write it down. And if it's everybody, then it looks like everybody.
It is everybody.
Okay. All right. Would you like a roll call vote?
Yes, I would.
How do you vote on the resolution before you, Ms. Belton-Cotman? Yes. Dr. Evans-Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Ms. McCosey? Yes. Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Woods?
Sir Jamal.
And President Rivera?
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Thank you very much. We're going to move to the unfinished business portion of our agenda. I have two motions that I need to read out. May I have a motion authorizing the district to pursue Section 75 discipline charges against employee TV? Thank you, Ms. McCosey, seconded by Mr. Hurd. Just take them all in favor. Okay, all in favor, please indicate. Raised hands. Aye. Ms. Wood, thank you. Motion passes. Second one, may I have a motion authorizing the district to pursue Section 75 discipline charges against employee MK? Okay. Mr. Hurd, second of Mr. Scott. All in favor, please indicate raised hand. Aye. Thank you very much. The motion passes. Is there any other unfinished business that we need to address? Okay. Mr. Hurd, you wanted to make a motion regarding the conference?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Rivera. I'd like to make a motion for the board to approve for the board to attend the 52nd Annual Legislative Conference in Albany this February 17th through the 19th. This is the New York State Association of Black Puerto Rican.
Mr. Hurd, I'm sorry, some of our members on this side of the table didn't hear you. Can you start again? Thank you.
I would like to make a motion for the board to approve the travel to the 52nd Annual Legislative Conference in Albany. This is February 17th through February 19th. This is the New York State Association of the Black, Puerto Rican, Hispanic, and Asian Legislators. This here is about our families, our communities, and And we meet with the diverse groups of community leaders and members and talk about issues and forums that involves our community and our schools, our children, and education. Thank you.
Do I have a motion? Dr. Evans-Brown, do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Belton-Cotman. I think we're ready. Do I have any discussion? Yes. Yes, it is. That is what we're approving. Any other? Okay. Signify your support. Raised hand. Those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. The motion passes. Any other unfinished business? No? With that, can I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, thank you. This is what happens when it's 9:30 at night. I rely on my colleagues. Please stand for bereavements. I apologize. This is why we're a team. Okay. Bereavements. November 2nd, Alinda Sisson, sister of Denise Brylinski, a teaching assistant at Frederick Law Olmsted, number 64, an aunt of Cynthia Shoemaker, a math teacher at BAVPA 192. November 13th, Francis Scaglione, father of Mariana Cicchini, principal at School 17. November 26th, Maddie L. Johnson, mother of Eric Johnson, principal of Burgard 301, and Kimberly Johnson, substitute teacher. December 6th, Henry Dowski, retired BPS administrator. December 2nd, Darlene Mingo, teacher assistant at McKinley High School 305, mother of Dr. Danielle Mingo Dove, a computer science teacher at Louis J. Bennett 363, and sister of Lillian Mitchell, a typist at Harvey Austin School 97. And December 19th, Jean A. Donahue, mother of Kim Donahue, a school social worker at MLK School 48 at 39. May we have a moment of silence, please? Thank you very much. Okay. Also, so I believe we can move to adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Wait. Yes. Okay, I have one motion. I have a second. All in favor? With that, I close